Shalloy as a front three. Adam Soloy will lead the attack. The referee is Clement Turpin from France. England in this first half will be playing from right to left. As we're about to get underway, there is the referee's whistle. England take the knee as expected. The Hungarian players, as expected, stand tall. But in that continuing message, the fight against discrimination, England's actions are applauded by this Molineux crowd. It's a perfect night for football, Dion.
Perfect night, listen to the noise. The noise is incredible. This place always holds a good atmosphere. Pretty sure Stevie's played here many times, but it's brilliant.
Well, they had to wait 66 years for a first international here since 1956. And now it's the second in 4 days. Certainly in the previous four, 21 goals were scored before that goalless draw against Italy. And England certainly will hope to get 3 points, but also find goals as well. The manner of the performance, because as you two know, as former England players, the scrutiny is always so high.
It is. I think it's something that is, I mean, it's so magnified now with social media and everything going round and around the team, but the performances will always be looked at from the public, and rightly so, because it's an honour to pull on the shirt for your country, and you should feel that every single time that you play for them.
It's the 50th consecutive match since an unchanged 11 against Croatia in the World Cup semi-final. The longest ever run for England was 56 between 1990 and 96. Of course, there's been a number of factors, and very, very difficult, certainly in this concertinaed period of games in the Nations League, for Gareth Southgate to name an unchanged side. But you think back in March he lost 3 players prior to the squad. Then when the squad was announced, a further 7 he was unable to see through injury. Nature of being an England manager, I guess, as Hungary over on that far side get a free kick. And the ball is played forward, and it's up towards Roland Shalloy and through to Ramsdale, who's certainly impressed against Italy.
Yeah, and you know, he's a confident lad. You can see him there clapping his teammates as if to say, well done, good positions, boys, that's what I want to see from you. They'll look behind them, that's the centre-half pair, and they'll be happy that he's there.
Reece James, a little touch for him at left-back. Did play briefly as a left-back for England during the game against Denmark in October 2020, but it's the first time that he's actually started as left-back for his country. Has played as a left wing-back for Chelsea earlier in the season when they took on Brighton at Stamford Bridge. Of course, you played in that position. What are the challenges that he will face as a right-back on this near side?
Well, the problem he's just had as he's received the ball, wants to have it on his right foot, wants to look inside every single time, and natural left footer will open the ball out towards the touchline, look to feed the winger straight away. But you've got inverted wingers who don't hug the touchline, so it's a very difficult skill. Defensively as well, you're always looking to show the player on your strongest side, which is down, which will be inside for him, so it's a big challenge for him.
Saka done well to keep the ball in play from Harry Kane's pass on this left-hand side. Saka cuts it back to Harry Kane, the England captain, lays it out. Walker joins the attack. Walker encouraged to shoot, instead plays it forward towards Jared Bowen, and just coming across was Attila Soloy to put the ball out of play. Saka with his pace did exceptionally well to keep it in play.
Yeah, he did. I think the pitch held up. The grass looks quite low out there.
From the throw, Gallagher lifts the ball in towards the penalty area over the head of Saka, and then Jude Bellingham charging forward, unable to keep it in play. The crowd, though, being here inside Molineux will surely help the England players.
Yeah, listen, it's bouncing at the moment. The band we can hear have started. The drums rolling since the first whistle went. England look lively at the moment. It's a good start from them. Lots of players in and around Harry Kane, which is what we want.
Just a reminder, England bottom of Group A3 on 2 points at the halfway stage. Hungary second on 4 points, a point behind Italy. As here is John Stones, just gathers that ball into his feet, left of the centre circle. A reassuring right hand was to say to Kyle Walker, I've got it under control, and now he passes it to his Manchester City teammate. And in fact, there's a little flick of the left hand there, just telling Reece James to get forward as Calvin Phillips is caught in possession, and that'll be a free kick to England in the centre circle.
Well, there's no need for Reece James to be that deep. You want to play high, you want to get up the pitch, you want to force their players back. But Dion made the point there of getting players in and around Harry Kane. The big thing for me in the England system is we don't need two holding. When you've got Calvin Phillips in there or Declan Rice doing that holding role, when you've got two players playing higher up the pitch, it allows your forward players to play higher, it allows your fullbacks to go forward. The balance is so much better. When you've got two sitting and that one just behind Harry Kane, it doesn't really occupy the midfield, and I think the balance is better that way.
Stephen Warnock and Dion Dublin with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live. We're also live on BBC Sounds. Bellingham. Reece James getting forward, gets the return ball back from Kane into the penalty area, lifts it towards the back post. Jarrod Bowen was there, downward header, he was appealing for a handball, play continues. Gallagher back towards Bowen, had to climb high. That shaft of sunlight coming in from the left corner of the ground, a problem for Kyle Walker there. And now it's back with Bowen once again. Of course, there is VAR, so it would be checked as a matter of course as play continues. England made a good start. Here is Guehi to Harry Kane. Kane turns, looks for a central ball for Saka to try and get round the back. Orban headed it away. Here is Kane once again, tussling for the ball. Adam Soulé back there helping out for Hungary. Roland Shalloy then comes also to help out the Hungarian cause. And now it goes out of play for a throw. Harry Kane just checking with the French referee. Reece James did ever so well. And it was the downward header by Jarrod Bowen against Nodge.
Yeah, as soon as he headed it as well, Jarrod Bowen, he's fell to the ground. He didn't quite catch it with a full forehead. And he's looking at the referee and he's tapping his hands as if to say, referee, handball, but nothing was checked, nothing doing.
I have to say, it's incredible defending the back post from Nodge to get across so quickly.
Didn't switch off, did he?
No, not one bit. He just knew how important it was. He'd lost the flight of it, and then it's the recovery into position, get along the line of the ball. Outstanding defending.
Peter Galacci not playing for Hungary tonight. Peter the Wall, the former Liverpool goalkeeper, had spells at Tranmere and Hereford and Hull City. So Dinesh Debus making his 22nd appearance for the suspended Galacci as Harry Kane helps it into the penalty area for Saka, who just overruns it. But Saka's had a bright start.
Yeah, he has, and I'm just looking at the amount of players. Bowen's in there, Bowen's in the box, Gallagher's in the box, Bellingham's making his way in the box, obviously Kane's there as well. So the intent's there from England. As soon as they get into that final third, which we've been asking, get players in the box, try and create something, be brave.
Goal kick that Hungary takes short. They actually play it back to the goalkeeper, all in yellow. England will press, and it was Gallagher who was quick to close down, and it'll go out for a goal kick. This is an opportunity for Conor Gallagher. He must have been very frustrated. It's his first involvement up until now, not involved in any of the three previous games, but back in March, Gareth Southgate commented that he had to be tidier with the ball. Of course, even when you're not playing, you're being judged still by Gareth Southgate and Steve Holland for that collective spirit that might be so important for a squad of 26 at a World Cup. If you're not involved, just to keep spirits high. As Roland Shalloy runs forward on this right-hand side, Adam Soulé, Szoboszlai down with the header, Styles joining the attack, and Gallagher wins it. Good challenge midway through his own half to Bellingham over the halfway line. He's looked towards Bowen, and it was cut out by Attila Soulé, and Schaefer is down here, and there'll be a stoppage in play. 0-0. Stephen.
Yeah, I think it was just a clash with Saka off the ball. I don't think there was too much in the actual challenge. It might have been Reece James, but it was from earlier on. Lovely play from Bellingham now. He's driving at the heart of the defence, trying to slip a ball in behind. It's been a positive start from England. I think the pressing from both Gallagher and Bellingham has been really good.
Costa Rica in the World Cup qualification playoff are leading New Zealand at half-time by a 1-0. did you see the actions of the Australian goalkeeper last night?
No, I didn't.
I did.
He was like a court jester.
Did you see what he did with the bottle?
I did, yeah.
What did he do with the bottle?
The Peruvian goalkeeper had clearly homework notes of who's going to go. At the first opportunity he had, Redmayne, the keeper, tossed it away, threw it away.
Did he?
And the Peruvian goalkeeper after that didn't save another penalty.
Did he not?
No. But if you remember Bruce Grobbelaar, Schaefer's still getting treatment, by the way. If you remember Bruce Grobbelaar and his spaghetti legs in 1984 in the European Cup final, this guy Redmayne took it completely to a new level.
Did he really?
His legs were moving one side. It reminded me of me being on the dance floor.
Yeah, but Grobbelaar was in time, though. He was dancing in time, unfortunately.
Yeah, his arms, his legs were all over the place. Anyway, he did the job. It did enough to see Australia go through, but Costa Rica 1-0 up there. Scotland earlier beat Armenia 4-1 in the Nations League B1. And Wales, of course, are underway in the Netherlands. John Southall.
Yes, good evening, Ian. We've played nearly 10 minutes of the game. It's the Netherlands 0, Wales 0, but they've settled fairly well when you consider they've got so many inexperienced players in the team tonight. Matt Smith, Sorba Thomas amongst those two, Brennan Johnson up front, but they've settled into the game well. Netherlands 0, Wales 0.
Thank you, John. That was a lengthy stoppage for Schaefer. Only now is he coming back onto the field of play. Shalloy's just picked up a knock there. Gallagher coming forward and gets a free kick as well. The Italian coach Marco Rossi of Hungary in his suit, looking very dapper. Bald-headed manager, not too impressed with that decision from Clément Turpin, and it will be a free kick to England. And we've been playing for 11 minutes here on BBC Radio 5 Live. It's quite a high line from the red shirts of Hungary outside the penalty area to protect the goalkeeper Debus. Bowen and Reece James stand over the free kick. They've got two in the wall. Sunlight might be a bit of a problem for some of the Hungarian defenders. It's Bowen to take it. It arcs its way in. Stones climbs high, and his downward header is saved by Debus.
Yeah, it was a bit of an outswing of that one. And by the time the ball gets to the white shirts of England, they are quite a long way out. That ball needs to be landing 2 or 3 yards away from the penalty spot to give the boys a chance to head for goal.
Debus with the clearance. Flicks on by Soloy. James cuts it out. Stretching into the challenge was John Stones. Here is Phillips. He turns and back towards Aaron Ramsdale, all in green, away towards our right-hand side. And he plays it short and forward now to Calvin Phillips. Gareth Southgate was talking recently about an over-reliance on Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling. 32 goals England have scored in the last 11 games. 16 different goal scorers if you include one own goal. Kane 11 in 10. Raheem Sterling just 1 in 7. There's a reliance on Harry Kane, the England captain, as Bowen, in fact 7 of the 10 outfield players yet to score for England here tonight, who incidentally, it's the same amount of appearances in this starting 11 than it was against Italy at the weekend, despite Gareth Southgate making 9 changes. 271 on Saturday, 271 tonight. Carol Vorderman would be very impressed with my mathematics. Here is...
Someone's done it for you.
Here is Stones. Phillips. Gurhey. Crystal Palace defender back towards Stones once again. Out towards Kyle Walker, who's done very, very well in the 2 games that he's played previously tonight. Probably cemented that position, really. Title winner, of course, with Manchester City. Played on the right side of the 3 in Budapest, and then as a right back against Germany. And talking of which, Germany are leading Italy by a goal to 0. Joshua Kimmich has got that goal for Germany, who are 1-0 up in England's group in A3. Just got a little bit flat, hasn't it? A little bit stale.
There's a real reluctance to give the ball to Reece James from the centre-half positions, because they know his body position is going back towards them, and you think, well, tell him to open his body out, and when he receives it, he can bounce it into a forward player straight away. I think you look at the shape of Hungary. They're sat in, they're sat deep, they're making it difficult, but you've just got to up that tempo and get the ball moving quicker.
Well, the England supporters in this sellout crowd here at Molineux are certainly trying to do their bit to rouse England. There are around 700 Hungarian supporters who are high up in the stand away towards our left-hand side, the stand colours stand in that top tier. Might be able just to hear them chanting. Once again, a number of them wearing black t-shirts, the ultras of the Hungarian travelling supporters. Gurhi to James. Forward ball to Harry Kane, who drops almost to the halfway line. Then he's dispossessed by Callum Styles. Szoboszlai helps it out towards Nodge on that far side. Styles, like Kieran Trippier, Bury born, plays his football for Barnsley. In fact, Trippier had a spell at Barnsley as well, didn't he? I wonder if he's going to follow in the footpaths of the England international. 22 years of age, making his 6th appearance for Hungary. And he's got a free kick of Hungary now over on that left-hand side. Quarter of an hour played, 0-0. They are an awkward side to play against. We saw enough of that in the Euros. Styles leaves it for Szoboszlai. There's a rather flat ball coming in. Hasn't been dealt with. And Hungary take the lead through Roland Shaloi. Took it very, very well. Fired it past Aaron Ramsdale inside his near post. It's England 0, Hungary 1.
That's totally against the run of play. It's John Stones who gets beaten in the air from their first ball, gets headed down, and it's a magnificent finish, you have to say. Takes it on his thigh, on his left thigh, and then unleashes a shot with his right foot into the top corner, and Ramsdale is helpless. He gets an arm to it, but it's past him so quick. It's a big, big goal for Hungary, and these England players are going to have to wake up.
Strikes it so well, I've got to say. I'm expecting England to clear that. The ball was so flat. I'm thinking, Stones, just get your arms out, give yourself a bit of space, head that back up the pitch, get the team up the pitch. But no, it bobbles along to the near post, and I do believe he was about 6 yards out and smashed it past the keeper. Ramsdale, no chance.
Came off the arm of Ramsdale, but he seemed to react by the time the ball had already gone past him. And he's never been a prolific striker. He's a tireless worker, Roland Shaloi, but it's his 7th goal on his 36th appearance. The 25-year-old from Freiburg, and Hungary and their supporters have let off a red smoke bomb in that end over on that far side, are leading by a goal to 0.
Yeah, they have played a couple of long balls up to the big number 9, Soloi, and Shaloi is gambling, so they're getting gamblers behind the big man as well, so you've got to be careful of the flick on as well, because Styles and Schaefer in the midfield are looking for the big man to flick it on. If you lose your runners, I think England could be in trouble here.
It was a very, very good finish, right-footed. As it came up, it just hit his thigh, and then he let the ball settle and then hit it on the full.
Yeah, no keeper stopping that, I'm afraid. He's too close in, too much power, Steve.
Yeah, I think one of the things when you look back at that goal, Gareth Southgate will be very disappointed, because Harry Kane receives the ball on the halfway line. He's got a simple pass, decides to take the ball on himself, loses it. We've got a break here for Hungary.
Could be in again here. Shaloi up against James. James prevents the cross from coming in. James actually will wait for the ball to stop rolling before clearing, only towards Schaefer. Little flick back inside towards Schaefer. Hungary buoyed by that goal, penning England back. Here is Phillips. They did check for offside. I think when the free kick was taken, there didn't look to be anybody in an offside position, but it was checked nevertheless. Gallagher. Bit of goal now in the Netherlands, John Southall.
And it's Netherlands 1, Wales 0. Really good finish from Noah Lang. Turned the two defenders, Chris Mepham and Joe Rodon, just on the edge of the penalty area and smashed it in. Netherlands 1, Wales 0.
Walker waits on that far side. England are behind. Remember, yet to win so far in this Nations League campaign. You have to go back to 2014 for the last time where England had gone 4 games without a win, so never under the reign of Gareth Southgate. Roy Hodgson was the manager then. In the run-up to the World Cup in Brazil, there was a draw with Honduras, and then of course the disappointment of those 3 games in Brazil. But England with Bowen back towards Stones. Now with Gerhi. Poland 0, Belgium 1. That's in the Welsh group, so Belgium are leading through Michy Batshuayi. And Belgium just 3 points behind Netherlands, who top Group A4. Hungarian voices you can hear at Molineux, because their side are leading by a goal to nil. Walker, Gallagher lays it off. Bowen coming in off that right touchline now. Central area. Bellingham. James going on ahead of him at left back. James with a cross, too close towards the goalkeeper and easily gathered in.
Yeah, need more from that from James, I'm afraid. He's in a good area there. If he's got to put a ball in, put it in with feeling, you know, and pace. He just leaves it in there. The keeper catches it in his midriff.
So England have questions to answer here at Molineux. Adam Soloy brings it off his chest to the goal scorer, Shalloy. Stones with a foot into the challenge, out of play, it goes for a throw.
Far too easy. Saloy up top is just coming off Stones, off Gerhi. He's just receiving the ball on his chest, or he's flicking it on. You've got to get tighter with him. You've got to get someone in front of him, whether that's Calvin Phillips, just to stop that threat. It's a base for Hungary to build on, and it's far too simple.
So a challenge for these England players. Gareth Southgate making the 9 changes. A throw from Long, who does exactly that. James, helped on by Stones, to Walker, who now has an area of the field to run into, and he's certainly encouraged to do exactly that by the crowd here at Molineux under the clear blue skies. And then he stops back towards Phillips. The pace of England's play, though, has slowed down. It noticeable very early on. It was quite sharp and it was quick, but it's gone not pedestrian, but it's very, very easy for Hungary to read and drop back into position.
Yeah, and that's one thing you can't really do international football, move it quickly, because if you don't shift the opposing team about, they can sit in, they can make it difficult for you at the moment. And I think you've just said it there, Ian, that England are playing at a pretty slow pace, which will suit Hungary.
You look at the movement there, and you heard the crowd with Kyle Walker going forward. Kyle Walker's driving up the pitch, and Jared Bowen's running towards him.
Yeah, he's coming too deep.
Go the other way, run him behind, stretch him, make sure that Kyle Walker continue to carry on up the pitch. It's just a little bit, well, I'll come and show for it and look like I want the ball all the time. Sometimes that's not what you need to do.
They can raise their game, Hungary, as they did in the Euros against a Portugal, a France or a Germany. And then in the World Cup qualification campaign in England's group, they struggled against sides such as Albania, where the onus then and the expectation was on Hungary. But here they're going to sit back, be hard to break down, and then break on the counter-attack. They're leading by a goal to nil, and England at the moment haven't really created a great deal. Just that one effort from the cross where Bowen tried a header at the far post. But England at the moment have been very, very cautious. Here is Stones. England trail. Stones. Crowd are already willing to turn because of England's unwillingness to try and get forward into that final third. They're keeping the ball at the back. Here is James looking for Saka, easily cut out by Viola. This now could be a test for the England players if the crowd are going to make it like that.
You know what, I'm watching James on the left-hand side for England, and Stevens mentioned it, that he's wanting to go inside all the time. So Saka, who's got his heels on the chalk, waiting for the ball to go one-on-one with Viola, he's not had a chance to do it yet. Viola doesn't want to go one-on-one with Saka. Get the ball to him as much as possible.
We're midway through the first half. To take you through to half-time, here's John Murray.
With England on the attack, and the ball played long, looking for Jared Bowen down the right-hand side, but it's comfortably headed away by Attila Soloy, and England take it up again on the halfway line. This is going to be a challenge again for England tonight, having gone a goal down against Hungary, because Hungary are very adept at dropping deep and being difficult to find a way through, but that's what Kane's trying to do now with a reverse pass towards Bellingham and Saka near the edge of the penalty area. But neither of them can get that touch to take it on, and Hungary clear it away downfield again. So England 0, Hungary 1 on this lovely June evening here, but England with problems on their hands. And Wales were 1-0 down against the Netherlands. Last we heard, John Southall is monitoring the pictures
Well, I have to say, John, it could be a long night for Wales this. It's now Netherlands 2, Wales 0. Cody Gakpo with the second. He cut in from the left-hand side. His initial shot was deflected, fell back into his path, and he just stroked it into the bottom right-hand corner. And you have to say, very poor defending from the Welsh. Netherlands 2, Wales 0.
Yeah, we have a choice of listening for you tonight, Nations League commentaries, because the Radio Wales team, the BBC Radio Wales team, are in Rotterdam tonight, and that is what you can hear being simulcasted now on 5 Live, Sports Extra, and on BBC Sounds. Here is the Hungarian captain, Adam Szalai. Big, lumbering figure that he is, but a really important part of this team as the central striker. The number 9, the 34-year-old from Basel. Hungary leading through that goal from Roland Szalai, took it very well, and now he's scored in both games against England in this country this season. Scored the penalty in the 1-1 draw at Wembley in the World Cup qualifier, and now the opening goal here with Hungary leading by 1-0 and 20 minutes of the first half to go, and England now with the task of trying to break them down. Calvin Phillips drops deep. Phillips goes for one of his long passes downfield, but an outstretched leg from Attila Szalai prevents it from reaching Jared Bourne, but then Hungary have given it away, and Phillips now forward towards Bellingham, but Bellingham had Hungarians either side of him. The ball breaks forward towards Szalai through the middle. Szalai moves away from Bellingham, who glides after him and forces him out towards the left-hand side. However, he has been able to find Zsolt Nagy, and now Nagy plays it back to Szalai, and Szalai takes it on down the left, and Szalai crossing left-footed into the edge of the 6-yard box, where it's caught by Ramsdale, but challenge came in late on Szalai after he crossed the ball, and he was fouled. And Dion, it's a free kick to Hungary in the England right-back area.
Yeah, and you know what, it's in a really dangerous area as well, where the free kick's going to be taken from, but Szalai, the big number 9, has been absolutely fantastic, by the way, taking it out of his feet, getting it on his chest. Just looking at the replay here of the late challenge on Szalai. I think it's Bellingham that just gets there a little bit. I can't see anything. In fact, I think Bellingham might have got a bit of a shin in the face there, so might have bought that one there, Szalai. But he's been very good, the big number 9, the skipper.
He has. Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock, England internationals, both with us here at Molineux on BBC 5 Live Sport in a free kick. Remember, Hungary scored from their last free kick, Stephen.
Yeah, they did, and they're going to have to be wary of Szalai. Last time it was Gerhi who was getting very close to him, getting touch tight, but it was John Stones who was beaten to the header initially, and then it was the second contact is the most important contact. You've got to be alive, know where your men are.
Well, Szalai, having received treatment, is just walking back along the dead ball line and taking up a position in the 6-yard box. Well, they're 1-0 down, England. Were they to go 2-0 down, this would be a big task against this awkward Hungarian team, who've produced a string of results against superior teams really over the course of the last year or so. So it's a free kick out on the left-hand side. Szoboszlai is the man who played the free kick in for the opening goal. If he does here, it'll be an in-swinger. Callum Styles is there as well. Lots of movement in the box. Szoboszlai whips it into the near post. Oh, and it came off an England head. I think it might have been Phillips and was cleared off the line. And that saved England. And now Gallagher plays it forward. And Jared Bourne is running it downfield. Kane's trying to get there in the middle. Bourne still going, but the covering challenge comes in from Szoboszlai to put it behind for a corner. But a crucial block on the line. Reece James, we think it was, who was in the right place at the right time, and it flashed off the head of Calvin Phillips. I think Bukayo Saka is down, having taken a knock as England broke away. He's just been helped to his feet by Ramsdale, and play will resume with a corner to England. Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, it was Calvin Phillips. He just tries to get a header on it, and he just flicks it into the back post area, and then Reece James with a goal-saving header on the line makes sure that it doesn't go past, but it was a worrying time again. And then the break, great ball from Harry Kane, but Jared Bowen just couldn't find his feet. He just stumbled on top of the ball and then ran it out and deflected out for a corner.
England's first corner then, here it is, towards the penalty spot. Stones heads it down, but straight at goalkeeper Dibus, who is able to allow it to bounce up into his midriff. So it remains England 0, Hungary 1 after that little period of play. More news on Netherlands-Wales from John Southall.
Well, what don't mean 29 minutes. Netherlands 2, Wales 1. Wales have got one back. Dan James picked out Brennan Johnson, who just stroked it into the bottom left-hand corner, scored his first Welsh goal against Belgium at the weekend, and he's just helped himself to his second. Very composed finish. Netherlands 2, Wales 1.
So Wales not out of it yet. Earlier, Scotland revitalised their hopes in the Nations League with a 4-1 win in Armenia. And here come England again, driving towards the dead ball line on the right-hand side. Jared Bowen and the French officials together say it bounced back into Bowen, and that is a goal kick. Clément Turpin, the referee, the man who refereed the Champions League final just a matter of weeks ago. So a goal kick to Hungary. Dion and Stephen.
Yeah, I know we've said these are awkward opposition, but they work so hard out of possession. They really do get back into their positions. They don't mind the tackle. They don't mind the physical side of the game. And when they get it, they seem to calm down and want to play the game in the right way.
Oh, D. Bush took his time to clear that. The goalkeeper, and Gallagher sliding in was almost there. That was a split second away from Gallagher charging that down 2 yards from the goal line. But here's Kane now cutting in from the left-hand side, and the England captain lifts the ball out into the path of Walker on the right. Walker has a look. Here's the cross, hits the first defender, bounces down into the left-back position. Gallagher is there, his first appearance in these 4 matches this month in the Nations League. The Crystal Palace man, or the Chelsea man, I suppose, since the season is over. He's technically back with his parent club. Here's Gay now, the former Chelsea man. Forward from Saka. Bellingham now rides the challenge from Schaefer, plays it back behind him to Reece James. This is an issue, certainly. I know we've touched on it, but the lack of a left footer at left back, with Chilwell and Shaw on the injured list and not able to be in this squad. So England move it out towards the right-hand side, which is probably sensible, where the natural right footer Walker is there. Kyle Walker, the most capped player in this England team. 68 caps, with the exception, of course, of Harry Kane winning his 73rd tonight. Here's Gay now in the centre circle. Gay plays it all the way back towards the edge of the area to goalkeeper Ramsdale. So Hungary leading through that Roland Shalai goal in the 16th minute. And this means that England will be staying bottom of this group, and actually then the possibility of relegation from the top tier of the Nations League would be a real possibility. Germany still 1-0 up on Italy in the other match in this group. And really, from that tonight, that other game, England would love to see a draw, but the first part of the conundrum is England have got to win. And this will be, even from 1-0 down against this Hungarian team, if England are able to turn this around, I think in the circumstances, this would be an achievement. Here's Walker to the right-hand side to Bowen, who goes back into his own half. But Hungary just dropping right back. This is exactly what this is, right up their street.
You know what, I think start of the game England were trying to go through the centre of the pitch, and it was working for them to a certain degree, but Styles and Schaefer and Friola nudging that midfield and really making it difficult for England to go through the middle of the park.
And that's given away by Stones, and Soboslai will take it downfield, and he will play a little ball in to Soloi on the left, and Soloi with Walker in front of him, and Walker's done well, but it's played into the near post, and a stretching clearance by Gay, and England playing it out across the edge of their own penalty area, and Gallagher rides a challenge, and then Kane lays it off, and Bellingham tries to take it on, but Schaefer's won it back, and Soloi's having a go from distance, but that was a comfortable save for Ramsdale to his right from the shot of Adam Soloi.
England get away with it there, because if Soloi takes his shot earlier, he gets a shot at goal.
England down the other end with Bowen into the penalty area, but very good work at the back for Hungary as Attila Soloi just comes across and takes the ball away from Bowen and then takes it downfield. But well done, Jared Bowen chased him all the way back to the halfway line and won the ball back himself. Republic of Ireland are winning 1-0 against Ukraine in the Nations League B1, that is the Scotland-Armenia group. Ukraine, who've won both of their matches so far. Nathan Collins scoring the opening goal. That game's been played in Poland, incidentally. Here's Gallagher down the left-hand side, but is dispossessed. I think England supporters suggesting that wasn't kept in by Schaefer, but the officials say it was, and he runs it away to the halfway line, and then in comes the tackle of Phillips to put it out for a throw. So 12 minutes of the first half to go. England 0, Hungary 1. And at half-time, we'll be crossing to Ian Carter our golf correspondent, who's there ahead of the start of the US Open, so we'll be going live to the Country Club at Brookline, and after the events of this afternoon in the test match at Trent Bridge. I mean, you might be listening on the way back from that. You're probably still in a glow after the afternoon's events, if you're an England supporter, that is. We'll have a full review after 10 o'clock on 5 Live tonight with all of the reaction, and of course there will be the TMS podcast available via BBC Sounds. But here in the Nations League, England have got a job on their hands. Soloy is tripped just down in front of us, 10 yards inside the England half, and it's a free kick to the Hungarians on the right here.
I like Soloy. I think he's doing an excellent job for Hungary. He's just a perfect screen for them to build off. It's something that England haven't been able to do. They're just dinking little balls into him in between the midfield and defence, and he's getting hold of it. He's picking players out where we're trying to be too accurate with our passing, trying to be too pretty at times.
Free kick then. Szoboszlai has come all the way over here. Hungary's most expensive footballer, the number 10, the RB Leipzig man, just actually knocks it short this time to Schäfer, and Schäfer curls a low ball into the edge of the penalty area, which is hooked away by Phillips. Comes back to the halfway line where Fiola plays the ball to the left, and Zolt Nodge, a low pass to the edge of the box. Saka is able to get in the way of that, then Gallagher finds Kane in some space in the centre circle. Kane to his left, low to Saka, had to stretch for it. That touch took it wide into the full-back position, but a right-footed ball into the box, comes off the head of a defender. Well saved by Dibus, diving to his left. Well, England could have scored an own goal, and now Hungary could have scored an own goal. Stays 1-0 to the visitors. Gallagher, though, curling a ball into the back post. Stretching header wide by Bellingham at the back post in the 6-yard box. Goal kick, Hungary.
Oh, what a save by Debus from Orban, who nearly puts it into his own goal. He was stretching. It was a lovely ball from Saka. Comes inside onto his weaker right foot and just dinks a lovely ball in. Such a difficult one to deal with, and that was better from England.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard as a defender. You can't leave those ones, you know. It's in behind you and the goalkeeper. You think, what do you do? Do you touch it? Do you not touch it? Fantastic save from his keeper.
England 0, Hungary 1. Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock with us, and John Stones is yellow carded for that challenge near the halfway line on the Hungarian captain, Adam Soloy. And Soloy is holding his head. He's putting his hands to his forehead, and it was a flailing arm that caught him.
No, not for me, John. That's no flailing arm at all for me. That's John Stones getting up. Bit of physicality. There's no bent arm. There's no elbow into the face. There's nothing I can't see in that one. Yeah, he's got a yellow card, but I can't see if there's anything in that. That's a good header by the centre-half.
So yellow card nevertheless for John Stones. So Soloy, they'll take a breather here, I'm sure. Another thing as well is this Hungarian side, without necessarily the strength and depth of the teams above them in the world rankings, it means that Marco Rossi, their coach, has named a settled side all the way through these 4 matches. So after the first match against England in Budapest, when, remember, Hungary won 1-0, he made 1 change for the next game when they lost narrowly 2-1 to Italy. He made 3 changes for the next game, the 1-1 draw with Germany, and then just 2 changes today. So England, the much changed England, all of these matches are playing against the settled side who know the jobs.
Yeah, would you say the intensity of the Premier League is greater than the leagues that the guys are playing in? I know you've got
mainly.
Yeah, to a certain degree, and I think you would say as well the quality of rotation should be better from England, but listen, it's such a tough ask for Gareth to try and get right. He's under such huge pressure from the Premier League's managers as well to make sure that the minutes are managed for the players as well.
Yeah. One of the things I love about international football is sometimes in international football the strength of the team is everything.
Absolutely. It can be everything.
I mean, in terms of the team.
Yeah, 100%, and that is something that is key to the way international football is.
Yeah. England 0, Hungary 1. They're producing another excellent result. The Hungarians, supported by their 600 or 700 supporters in the top tier of the Stan Cullis stand. That was another feature of this evening. If you weren't listening earlier, while the Hungarian anthem was being played, many England fans were calling out racism as the Hungarian anthem was being played. But England coming forward now. Bourne on the right-hand side, low ball in, took a deflection, but that carried it into the path of Attila Soloy, who was able to clear away. 7 minutes go, less than 7 minutes to play in the first half. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Now James on the left back in this match. He lays it off to Saka. Saka's ball into the box, hits a defender almost inevitably. Bellingham now just outside the area, takes the ball into the box on the left-hand side, back onto his right foot, back onto his left foot again, and then the ball to the near post is headed behind by Adam Long. Corner England.
Yeah, great play from Bellingham, so cultured on his left foot or his right foot. He fakes to cross with his right, goes on his left, he gets cut out at the near post, but the quality's there, the composure's there. We just need more of that, more bravery again from the England players going down the left and the right.
So in front of the sun-kissed Stan Cullis stand, Reece James will take the corner, raises his right arm, delivery into the 6-yard box, which is headed across the penalty area, took a deflection, but the referee I think has indicated there was an infringement in there, and he's given a free kick to Hungary.
Yeah, I think it's Orban who's claiming the push. I think he's saying straight away there was a foul, and the referee has backed him up on that.
Stones?
Yeah, possibly, just a little shove in the back.
Not a lot in that, Steve, is there really?
No, there isn't, but we know what it's like these days. The referees are so they've got to be in and around it. Anything that they think can potentially lead to a goal and controversial, then they won't give it.
One thing I'm not being convinced by with Hungary is they're playing out from the back, and they've got a free kick here in the box, and they've decided to abandon that, and Dibus has sent everyone away downfield, and so it's landed just down in front of us. Jude Bellingham gets a shove which sends him sliding off the pitch. That's a free kick to England. So a free kick. Jack Grealish actually fields it down there. The Birmingham lad throws it to the Stourbridge lad. Jude Bellingham, he'll have some support, won't he, Dion, in this stand? I would imagine the family will be here. You would think, wouldn't you?
There'll be plenty here. I'm telling you, loads of yam-yams will be here. Loads of people from the Black Country.
Yeah.
The Brummies will be here.
Yeah, but the Blues will be here as well from Jude Bellingham's side of the family, I'm sure. BJ enjoying a trip to Molineux.
And why not? Just around the corner.
And why not?
Full house, it's great. Brilliant atmosphere.
England 0, Hungary 1. And it says on the ever-changing hoardings, "Come on, England," and they do. They need a bit of that. 1-0 down, and it's not been convincing again. Stones picks out the pass to his Manchester City teammate Walker, and that's forward to Gallagher, who's pushed forward down into the full-back position. He's sent flying blonde hair all over the place. Attila Soloy coming in with a challenge, but referee Turpin says that wasn't a foul, and then Callum Styles in midfield clashes with Phillips again, not for the first time, and in the end the ball is blocked out for a throw-in to Hungary near the corner flag on the far side.
You know what, I think England are finishing this half well. They're looking sharp, they're creating a little bit more. Gallagher's all over the place in and around. Harry Kane has gone left, he's gone right. No one's staying in their positions regimentedly now, but they're just getting about the pitch a bit better now.
Still Germany 1, Italy 0 in the other match in this group. They're playing each other in Mönchengladbach tonight. Throw-in is taken, that's a high foot, and it's a free kick to England on the right-hand side. And still Netherlands 2, Wales 1 in the match you can listen to on 5 Live Sports Extra. And this is not an end to the international football at Molineux this week, because the women play here on Thursday night, England-Belgium, one of their warm-up games for the Euros, and we'll have that for you in full Thursday evening, 5 Live Sport. Free kick then, as a result of that high foot, out on the right-hand side. England, high free kick into the penalty area. Stones on the stretch, but it was headed up in the air by Attila Soloy, but the ball bounces behind, and it's a corner, and England can increase the pressure. And Reece James is making his way across all the way, running away from us into the shadows. You can hear the crowd. They'd love to see a goal after the 0-0 here behind closed doors, in inverted commas, on Saturday night. England still yet to score from open play this month. James, high free corner to the back post. Stones gets a head on it. Dibus, the goalkeeper, comes and is able to make a juggling catch in amongst many bodies. So again, the threat has gone.
Quality wasn't quite there, was it, from Reece James? We expect that low fizzing ball in. He held it up high. John Stones got a header on it, but he could never really get any power onto it. Disappointing quality in from England so far, and it sort of sums up the performance of this first half. It's been lacklustre, it's been, I'd say safe is the word for me. It's not really been testing, it's not being breaking the lines, it's not being adventurous in trying anything, and it's often what I'd say is probably the downfall to Garrett's teams at times, where they seem to play too safe too often.
Yep, that is the growing criticism, or the regular criticism, that as soon as the results don't come, that is the stick that is used to beat him. England 0, Hungary 1. Throw in near the halfway line that is taken by Adam Long down the line. Gay gets a high foot, could easily have caught Roland Sholloy with that, but he managed to make clean contact on the ball, and England played to Walker on the far side, and Walker now sprinting out to the right. The open green acres of Molineux over there, so he crosses the halfway line, plays it back in field towards Phillips. Phillips then back to Gay, Mark Gay, winning only his 3rd cap tonight. And then Phillips curls a pass towards the edge of the penalty area, and the run from Walker couldn't reach it, had just too much on it, through and beyond the back line, but Walker, not even Walker, could get there. Goal kick.
Yeah, it's the right kind of ball from Phillips and the right kind of run from Kyle Walker, but I was taught this many years ago, straight ball, straight run, it's really difficult to make that work. You've got to angle one of them. On that occasion it didn't work, but no, it's good energy towards the end of the half. I know Steve said it's a bit lacklustre, the other 40 minutes have been, but for the last 5 minutes they've looked okay.
England 0, Hungary 1 with half-time approaching. 2 minutes of the first period to play, the added time. Gallagher, he might have tugged back Soloy, but the referee's allowed play to continue. Then Bellingham is in there. That's a heavyweight contest, those two, Bellingham and Soloy together. Soloy goes to ground, no free kick. Bellingham won it well. Stones at the back, Bellingham wants it. Bellingham with his left foot then opens his body and plays the ball to James, who shields it as it comes in, with Fiola putting in the challenge. And now back into the centre circle to Calvin Phillips, who chips it over the top to Walker on the right-hand side. Walker tried to play it past Zolt Nodge, but he was able to block it out for a throw-in 10 yards inside the Hungarian half. Just over a minute of added time to play. Throw-in is taken back to Gay in the centre circle. This will be the last attack of the first half, I would think. James tries to slot it through, but it bounces off the defender to Kane on his left foot, shoots low but drags it well wide. Although it took a flick, took a little deflection according to the referee, who immediately points to a corner, so there will be a final set-piece chance at the end of the first half.
Yeah, Harry Kane just trying his best to conjure up something himself. Lovely little chop inside, and I'm not so sure it actually did flick off anyone, but the referee decided that he did see something. The replay didn't seem to show us that.
This is going to be taken by Bourne, and Bourne plays it in the near post, and it's headed away by a diving Soloy. Comes out to James just outside the D, plays it square, but it was behind Gallagher, and Gallagher's pass forward was easily cleared, and the ball is out of play for a throw-in near the halfway line, and I think that will be it. It looks like England will be trailing at half-time. There it is, there's the whistle, there's the reaction. Sell-out crowd inside Molineux, although I can see spaces, lots of empty seats, and they're not impressed with what they've seen here, because England are losing 1-0 and will be staying bottom of this Nations League group. It simply has to improve, Stephen Warnock, Dion Dublin.
Yeah, it does. I think when you look at the tempo of what the game's being played at, it's not been good enough. Ramsdale's not had anything to do but pick that ball out of his net, but they've caused problems, Hungary, at times. They've been solid, they've been very resolute and difficult to play through. I just wonder, Dion, whether he'll make changes or at half-time, or tactically he'll try and change something.
Yeah, I just think England got to move it quicker, you know. It sounds silly, but take 1 and 2 touches, you know. Again, you know, if you move the ball quickly, you move the time on very quickly for the player receiving the ball. Move Hungary about the pitch a little bit more. It's been quite comfortable for Hungary so far. We can't allow that to happen in the second half. We've got good enough players. They need to do more for me.
Yeah, it's got to be a big 45 minutes for England in the second half here, because at half-time at Molineux, it's England 0, Hungary 1.
Thank you, John. Yes, group table as it stands, Group A3 in the Nations League, and this the fourth game of 6 for all the teams involved. If Hungary win this game, they'll be top of the group on 7 points. Germany are leading Italy by a goal to nil. They'd be on 6 points. Italy on 5 points were they to lose that game against Germany tonight. and England right down there at the bottom on 1 point. Dion, John has said a couple of times there in his little stint of commentary in the second half of that first half about what a test this is now going to be for England against a very awkward Hungarian team. We've seen that. I guess it's one of those, if they come through this test and get something out of the game, it's going to do them the world of good, particularly if they win it. If they don't, I just wonder how damaging that might be for the self-belief. I don't mean the noise from the outside and the boos at the ground and whatever, but just for the players themselves.
Yeah, I don't think the self-belief will go from the players because they know that they have it. It's just the players in the first half, Ali, have just been a little bit laboured when it comes to moving the ball at pace. I think Stephen mentioned it as well, that if England, that's how the Premier League is played, that's how our leagues are played, at pace. And now they go onto the international stadium, they just slowed it down a bit. It's not the way that we get our best results. So pick up the pace in the second half, and I genuinely think England can win this one in the second half and score goals.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, you picked up on it. I think the first thing you said to me this evening was lack of intensity in the warm-up. Then in the first 10 minutes, we saw a bit of that from England. We've seen a bit of it at the end of the first half. But do you feel that is the case again this evening?
Yeah, I do. I think there's also, you have to respect the opposition and how they're playing and how difficult they're making it. But we know there's quality out on the pitch. You've got to take more risks. You've got to go and drive at people. I think Stones and Gerhi, when they get the ball, they can drive out into positions and draw players towards them. That'll shift players out of positions, and then the interchange between the wide players and the fullbacks has to be better as well. There's so much more that needs to improve, but we know the players are capable of doing it. I think it's interesting to see Raheem Sterling being put through a vigorous warm-up. I think he could potentially be a change at half-time, and possibly for Jared Bowen, who's not really had an influence on the game. But you could also say the same about Saka. He's been on the periphery of the game completely.
Yeah, Stephen Warnock, Dion Dublin. Thank you, John Murray and Ian Dennis, your commentators this evening at Molineux. Half-time score there then. Not what England fans want. England 0, Hungary 1 in the other game in the group. Still playing at the end of the first half. Germany leading Italy by 1-0. In Group A for Wales tonight, away to the Netherlands. John Southall, seen some goals.
I have. Half-time, Netherlands 2, Wales 1. Wales are right in this game, which is something you wouldn't have said after 23 minutes when they were 2-0 down and being overrun. Defensively, they have been poor. The first goal, Wes Burns gave away possession. Noah Lang turned inside and out, Mepham and Rondo, and smashed it in. The second from Cody Gakpo, cut in from the left. He got lucky when the ball deflected back into his path, and he slotted it in. But again, Wales should have defended that better. But they've wrestled their way back into the game. The impressive Brennan Johnson with his second goal in 2 games, his second for his country as well. Very assured, calm finish into the bottom left-hand corner. Then right on half-time, Vincent Janssen, remember him from Tottenham, he put a shot wide when really should have done better after an error from the goalkeeper Wayne Hennessy. But Netherlands have dominated the half. Wales still in it. Half-time, Netherlands 2, Wales 1.
Just seen that Germany have got a second goal late in the first half against Italy, so Germany now lead Italy by 2-0. The other game in Wales group this evening, Belgium a 1-up away to Poland, so that means the top 2 teams in that group are both winning. Poland and Wales both behind. And in Scotland's group, Ukraine 0, Republic of Ireland 1 is the half-time score in that game. Earlier on today in that group, Scotland returned to winning ways with a 4-1 win in Armenia. Steve Clarke's side now sits second in the group at the moment after 2 wins and a defeat from their opening 3 group matches.
It was a game we probably had to win. It puts us in a position where we can go to September and have a chance, a realistic chance of topping the group, and that's what we wanted. But 2 wins against Armenia are not going to make this international camp a good camp, because it wasn't. We failed on our primary objective, which was to get to the World Cup, and we had a really bad performance in Dublin, which put us on the back foot again. So nice to bounce back tonight, but work to do.
In the other football news this evening, Liverpool have completed the signing of Uruguay striker Darwin Núñez from Benfica on a 6-year deal, an initial fee of £64 million. Tottenham have agreed a £30 million deal for the Brighton and Hove Albion midfielder Yves Bissouma. Manchester City goalkeeper Scott Carson has signed a new 1-year deal with the club. And as we were discussing earlier on in the show, Burnley have appointed the former Manchester City captain and Belgium international Vincent Kompany as their manager. More football second half from Molineux on the way on 5 Live Sport and BBC Sounds this evening. For now, though, let's take a break. Get the 5 Live news from Jill Mackenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good evening. The BBC understands that the Home Office believes a last-minute legal challenge at the European Court of Human Rights could prevent the planned deportation of asylum seekers to Rwanda this evening. The court in Strasbourg has blocked the removal of one of the people expected to be on board the flight. The ruling could pave the way for others to make similar claims. Phil Clark is Professor of International Politics at SOAS University London.
Rwanda is a very organised, a very stable society. It has a long track record of looking after refugees and asylum seekers very well. But most of these asylum seekers will have their claims upheld and will then be released into Rwandan society. And what they're going to find then is an economy that's really only starting to get back on its feet after COVID, where unemployment is very high.
Events have been taking place to mark the 5-year anniversary of the Grenfell Tower fire in West London. This evening, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge joined survivors and bereaved families for a vigil at the base of the tower block. Nicola Sturgeon has set out what she calls a refreshed case for Scottish independence. The First Minister says she won last May's election with a clear commitment to a second independence referendum. But the Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, says now is not the time.
You can run your own focus group or poll. I guarantee you the Scottish public will not put top of their list what Nicola Sturgeon is talking about. When we had the vote and the referendum, everyone agreed, including the SNP, that was a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The Scottish people voted to stay in the Union.
And the Met Office and the UK Health Security Agency have issued a warning as rising temperatures are predicted across the Midlands and the south of England later this week. It comes into force at midnight on Thursday. Temperatures are expected to exceed 30 Celsius in the southeast on Friday.
From BBC Sport,
this is 5 Live Sport.
With Alistair Bruce Ball this evening, commentary second half on the way from Molineux. England 1-0 down at home against Hungary in the Nations League. Wales were 2-0 down away to the Netherlands, have got a goal back. That one's 2-1 at half-time in Rotterdam. A really memorable day in the cricket today as well. A super speedy century from Johnny Bairstow helped England beat New Zealand by 5 wickets in the second test. It sealed the series win as well. It was the second fastest century ever by an England batter in test cricket, and Bairstow's been speaking to Jonathan Agnew.
It was a good crack, wasn't it?
Well, good crack.
At least you had something to talk about rather than being dull and boring on the radio and everything.
Well, I don't think you've ever been dull and boring, Johnny, but I've never seen you play a test innings like that.
No, it's been good. It's really good fun. I mean, it was great. I mean, look at the crowd that's turned up on a day 5 of a test match here at Trent Bridge. There's been 500 scored in both innings. There's been 300 chased down in the last innings. I mean, if that isn't an advert for test cricket, I don't know what is.
Check out the highlights on the BBC iPlayer. Johnny Bairstow was out for 136 in the end, but he did his job as England chased down a target of 299 to beat New Zealand in that second test. We'll have more from the test match special team at 10 o'clock this evening. And of course, the test match special podcast will be available on the BBC Sounds app for you later on as well. So we are waiting for second half commentary at Molineux. We're hopefully going to be heading over to Brookline in a moment or two as well to look ahead to the US Open Golf with our golf correspondent Ian Carter. The news today as well, of course, that Serena Williams will be playing in the Wimbledon singles this year. Announced that she's taken the offer of a wild card to play at Wimbledon this year, which is exciting news. Is going to warm up for that by playing in the doubles at Eastbourne. So your half-time scorelines on 5 Live Sport this evening are England trailing 1-0 at home to Hungary in the Nations League. And Wales 2-1 down away to the Netherlands. While we wait for Ian Carter to join us from Brookline, let's get back to Molineux. Delighted to say that Ian Dennis hasn't disappeared for his cup of tea. Probably too warm, actually, for a cup of tea tonight, Ian. But England have got a real job on their hands now in the second half.
I'm not really a tea man anyway, Ali. Although I can smell. Oh, no, I can't smell the blackcurrant.
I smelt blackcurrant before.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. There's a really strong smell of blackcurrant, people were telling me earlier.
I had an unfortunate incident yesterday when we were having fish and chips in a pub yesterday afternoon. And I was carrying 3 drinks through the pub, one of which was blackcurrant and soda, one was orange and soda, and one was Ian Dennis's Diet Coke.
I was going to say, it wasn't a blackcurrant for Ian Dennis.
Chaps, I tell you what, I'm going to delay. I'm going to delay the climax of the story.
What a trail that is.
I can't wait. But Ian Carter does now join us from the Country Club in Brookline, so let's not keep him waiting. It's the venue for this week's Men's US Open. Good afternoon, Ian, for you.
Good afternoon, Ali.
I'm hugely envious. That is a golf club and a course I desperately want to visit one day, a historic venue. Third men's major of the year starts on Thursday, but obviously today all the talk, it seems, again in the build-up, to one of the most important events in the game, is centred around the controversial Saudi-backed Live Golf Series again. Oh, he's gone, which means we might have to get back to John's story. Okay, no, we're not going to go back to John's story just yet. Hold fire on that one. Why don't we have a listen to what Rory McIlroy has had to say about that today?
It's the cloud that's hanging over golf at the minute, right? It's we're at a major championship and it's what everyone wants to talk about. So it's on everyone's mind. And those crowds on Sunday in Canada, Liv's never going to have that. Last week meant something. What they're doing over there, it doesn't really mean anything apart from just collecting a ton of money. So, I'm really proud of the show that we put on last week. And I talked about this before, but it's the competitive integrity. You go out there and you're up against the best, and when that happens, you need to bring the best out of yourself. The fact that I went up against JT, who's arguably going to be one of the best players of our generation, and to be able to come out on top, like that's competition, and that's what makes you proud when you lift a trophy at the end of the day.
So that's Rory McIlroy making his feelings on the whole situation very clear again. Ian Carter's going to be part of our preview hour on 5 Live Sport at 8:30 tomorrow night. Plenty of updates from Ian on the opening 2 rounds of the US Open before we get into our commentary on the event on Sports Extra on Saturday. That will start at 10:05, and then the final round of the US Open will be on 5 Live from 9 o'clock on Sunday. So very much looking forward to all of that. I'm told the teams are back out at Molineux, our commentary team this evening. Dion Dublin, Stephen Warnock, John Murray, who was in the middle of a fascinating tale about carrying a round of drinks through a pub yesterday. And here's Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Ali. England have made one change. Raheem Sterling for Jared Bowen. Hungary are unchanged. This is the England team. Ramsdale in goal, a back 4 of Walker, Stones, Gurhey and James at left back. Gallagher, Phillips and Bellingham, the 3 in midfield. Now Sterling, Kane and Saka as a front 3. White shirts, navy shorts. Second half about to get underway with England playing from left to right, still under clear blue skies against a Hungarian side in their red shirts, white shorts and green socks. Debus in goal for them, a back 3 of Attila Soloy, Orban and Long. The wing-backs are Nodge on the right and Fiola on the left. Schaefer and Stiles in the centre of midfield, with Shalloy and Sabosloy supporting Adam Soloy. We're just waiting for the go-ahead from the French referee Clément Turpin, and then England will have 45 minutes to try and rectify this situation.
Yeah, change the system completely. Reece James out onto the right-hand side, and Saka as a left wing-back, Gurhey, Walker and Stones as your back 3, so it is a complete difference for England in the way that they're setting up in this second half.
Well, that's what Gareth Southgate wants in terms of his approach to the players, that flexibility, not to be too rigid so players can be adaptable. But if ever there was a sign that he wasn't happy with the first 45 minutes, that is it, Dion Dublin.
Well, the first 5 seconds, James gets it on the right-hand side and just steers it down the side for Sterling. Better already.
So Hungary playing the ball out with the goal kick in front of the Sir Jack Hayward stand, the old South Bank for those with memories of the old Molineux. If you're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live or indeed through BBC Sounds, and a free kick has been awarded to England, who are trailing to a Shalloy goal after 16 minutes. They did have the odd opportunity, but by and large England struggled to create clear openings in that first 45 minutes. They've got a free kick 10 yards in from the right touchline. James to take it. Saka is also there. Hungary have everybody back, and once again it's a very high line from the Hungarian defence. 25 yards out they've lined up there to protect their goalkeeper Debus. James clips it in now. Harry Kane off his chest, turns, scoops it forward, and then it's cleared away by Nagy for Hungary. Here is Kyle Walker picking up the ball in the centre circle. Out to Phillips still in the sunshine, although it's fading. There's Walker to Gallagher. Gallagher's hit that ball out towards the left-hand side towards Saka. Stones header forward, downward header by Bellingham. Gallagher couldn't get there. Shalhoy picks it up for Hungary. And now to Szoboszlai, a little touch towards Styles, the Barnsley player. Almost wriggled his way free. There's now Bellingham charging forward, but Orban comes across and makes the sliding challenge. England want to take the throw quickly. Kane back towards Reece James, and came from behind when these two sides met at Wembley in the World Cup qualification campaign. It finished 1-1 then. Ideally, England were really looking for 3 points from this game at Molineux. After Hungary's first win against England in Budapest last week, it was their first since May 1962. It ended a 15-match winless run against England. England's record at home against Hungary: played 11, won 9, drawn 1, lost 1. However, Hungary are looking for back-to-back wins for the first time since 60-62. 1-0 they lead in this Nations League. Elsewhere, Germany, remember, are still 2-0 up against Italy. There's Long with a back pass towards his goalkeeper, the number 2, Denis Debus. Forward ball, it goes from him. Phillips in the aerial challenge, loses out to Schaefer in the air. Adam Soloy gets away from Phillips, the talisman, if you like, the Hungarian captain, the focal point, and he plays it through to the poster boy of Hungarian football, Szoboszlai, twisting and turning. Stones with a foot into the challenge. It's a Hungary throw. They are such an obdurate team to play against, Hungary.
They're so tough because they've got an outlet every single time. Soloy up front, and then he's got willing runners around him. Szoboszlai is so clever with his runs. He knows the timing of them to make sure that his centre forward's got hold of the ball, then he can break past the midfield. It's been impressive from Hungary.
Nagy, left-hand side with a cross in towards the near post. Viola was sliding in there. England get it away. Scooped, spinning ball in the air from Gallagher. Schaefer beats Harry Kane in the air. Remember, we saw a lot of them in the Euros. They lost 3-0 to Portugal, but there were 3 late goals by the Portuguese. They drew 1-1 with France. They drew 2-2 with Germany. Indeed, they drew with the Germans more recently in this Nations League campaign at home 1-1. So they are a tough side to play against. England, who toiled really so far, trailing by a 1-0. Change of system though now, and it's with Sterling collecting the ball from Saka. Bellingham on the outside of him, running forward. Saka's made good ground. Bellingham drives in field, looks toward Harry Kane, just couldn't take it into his stride. But the pace of the attack was so much sharper.
Yeah, the pace came from Saka down the left-hand side. He passed it on to Bellingham. Bellingham used his pace. Saka continued his run. All the attention was on Saka, but Harry Kane made an amazing run straight down the middle of the pitch. And Bellingham just couldn't find his left foot. Harry Kane was reaching on the edge of the 18-yard box, and he just couldn't take it under control.
Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock are with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live at Molineux. Laura Bassett and Anita Asante will form part of our commentary team here on Thursday night for England's women against Belgium's women, part of the build-up to the Euros, which start on the 6th of July. Comprehensive coverage, of course, across the BBC. But this is the Nations League, and England struggled of late in the competition. 1 win in 6. They failed to score in 4 of those, and are trailing here by a 0-0. James back on his more natural right side, down in front of us. England playing from left to right. Walker now as the right of the back 3. Stones out towards Gurhey. Saka playing as a left wing back. In the sunshine in front of that Steve Bull stand on that far side. Back towards Stones once again. and the ball is lifted by Stones out towards James. It's an area that Gareth Southgate has long talked about where England need to improve, as Gallagher comes on the inside of his mark and Nodge, looks for the run of Sterling into the penalty area, lifts it up in the air. He's appealing for a corner kick, and it's given as well, as Artem Dovbyk has equalised for Ukraine. Ukraine 1, Republic of Ireland 1 in Scotland's Group B1, where Scotland earlier were 4-1 winners against Armenia. But the change of system and the introduction of Raheem Sterling has helped England.
It certainly has. He's made runs in behind, which has made it difficult for Hungary.
James with a corner kick, right-hand side, didn't beat the first man, headed out by Szoboszlai, retrieved by Gallagher. Gallagher short of the halfway line, hits it diagonally downfield, headed away then on that edge of the Hungarian penalty area, picked up by Saka, tries to get past Schaefer. It looked like he was being held there. Referee didn't see it. Up towards Soloy, trying to turn away from Gurhey, and out of play goes. Quick free kick taken by England. It's with Stones to Walker. We've been playing for 52.5 minutes here at Molineux. James goes on the outside, away from Shalloy. James delivers the cross. Kane dives in feet first, couldn't get there. England, though, are starting to create openings. They're starting to get around the back of Hungary.
Yeah, Saka getting further forward as well. Down the left-hand side, Reece James on his right foot down the right-hand side, looks a little bit more balanced. Harry Kane, little thumbs up there to Reece James, as if to say, that's what I want, more of that.
Said earlier on that England have never gone 4 games without a win under Gareth Southgate. The last time it happened was the World Cup 2014 in a group that was actually topped by Costa Rica. Well, they are going to the World Cup. They've beaten New Zealand in that playoff game by a 1-0. This is 5 Live. Commentary on Sports Extra of Netherlands against Wales. Updates for us here, John Southall.
Netherlands still lead by 2-1. Early chance for the Dutch though. Janssen to Gakpo on the right of the area. Good save by Hennessy. Then a moment ago, Matty Smith for the Welsh. Volley over the bar from the edge of the area. Netherlands 2, Wales 1.
Kane right-hand side, diagonal ball, looking towards Saka. Saka on the stretch, hits it first time, down into the ground, left-footed behind it, goes for a goal kick. Stephen Warnock.
It's been so much better in this second half. The speed in which they're playing the ball out to Reece James out on the right-hand side. Kyle Walker getting it out of his feet and allowing Reece James to take his first touch forward and look forward. Lovely ball from Harry Kane into the feet of Saka, a long diagonal pass, and Saka now looking in behind because of the change in system. It's allowing England to get forward and to look more positive.
But they still trail by a 1-0 as Hungary are looking to make a double substitution. Adam Nodge, the former Bristol City midfielder, is going to be one of those changes as the ball is out to that far side. Dion.
Yeah, I just believe that England look a little bit more comfortable actually in this second half. The pace and the danger is coming down the left-hand side with Saka and James on the right-hand side. Balance is good. Harry Kane straight down the middle. He's not coming off too deep, and it just looks so much better. Sterling's in and around Harry Kane as well. Sterling's pace is stretching the Hungarian side as well, holding that back 4 back. So yeah, much better, much more positive from England.
Adam Nodge is going to come on to replace Barnsley's Callum Styles. His 6th appearance for Hungary is over, and the other change is going to be Dominic Szoboszlai, who's going to be coming off, a 21-year-old from Leipzig, and it's going to be Daniel Gosdog who's going to come on to replace Szoboszlai. So 2 changes being made by Marco Rossi in the midfield, and England are going to make their second change, and Mason Mount is going to be coming on. Final words now from Gareth Southgate. Conor Gallagher to be the one to be replaced.
I'd have thought so. I think he's struggled in the second half. He's given the ball away 3 or 4 times. So it wouldn't surprise me, it is him.
So it is Conor Gallagher who makes way. Only his 4th appearance for England. Of course, returned back to Chelsea. His first involvement in this Nations League campaign lasted 56 minutes. Mason Mount and Raheem Sterling are both on now for England as they search for an equaliser here on BBC Radio 5 Live. After this, just 2 more matches before the World Cup, both in the Nations League. Italy away in September, Germany at home. As John was saying, the realistic possibility of being relegated in the Nations League. The wider picture, of course, is that England will miss out on being one of the top seeds for the Euro 2024 draw that is made in Frankfurt on October the 9th, such is their poor form in the Nations League. Trailing by a goal to nil. Stones. Mount had made the run, not spotted. Out to James on this near side. Zoltnodge goes with him. Sterling across to Mason Mount. Mount tries to help it on its way. Out of play it goes for an England throw. Gareth Southgate, who could have rather animated and frustrated figure at times in the first half, pacing from side to side, offers some applause for his England team. He was praising the spirit and the mental attitude of the players during this international break. They've got to certainly show. It's a test now for them to come from behind. Free kick though. Because the thing is that although it's improved in the second half, you can't really remember De Boer being overly stretched. In fact, his biggest alarm throughout the whole night was from Allman.
From his own player.
From his own player.
Yeah, it was a very good save as well. But I just, again, Hungary are happy for England to try and play through the centre of the park. Going down the side is going to hurt Hungary more than any other way, and that's the way we'll score our goal. We will score tonight. I'm confident we'll score tonight.
Germany are now leading Italy 3-0, but it's Hungary who will actually be going top of Group A3 as it stands, as they lead here by a goal to nil, and England will find themselves 3 points adrift with 2 games left to play. Kyle Walker goes back towards Ramsdale, all in green away towards our left-hand side. Gurhey, forward ball. Bellingham comes short, 10 yards inside his own half to collect it. Phillips plays the ball back. This is what Gareth Southgate was talking about. When England have it in their third, that possession, when they're being pressed, the technique, the positioning, the decision-making, in order to try and beat it. But England at the minute are still in that area of the field without actually bypassing any red shirts of Hungary.
The rotation has to be better. You have to have centre midfielders who drop into full-back positions, that draw people out of position, and that's better now though with the big switch of play. Kyle Walker looking to get forward, but it's been poor so far. We're seeing it in small doses where the passages of play are quick and incisive, but when they get set in the positions, Hungary, then that's where England really struggle to break them down.
Shalhoy tackles Reece James inside to Soloy, who really has held the ball up ever so well, but he's been dispossessed now by Calvin Phillips. To Bellingham. Bellingham comes under pressure there from Adam Nodge. Back towards Gurhey. We're approaching the hour mark. You can still hear murmurs around Molineux as England trail. James to Walker. Walker now to Gurhey. Sterling's out on the left-hand side. Saka's come central. Bellingham and Mount are there as well. Now it is with Sterling to Bellingham. Little ball inside by Saka, who was then fouled off the ball. No advantage being played by the referee. England try and win it back. And now he gives a free kick in favour of Hungary. And once again, the arms are out, open stretch from Gareth Southgate towards the fourth official down below.
Yeah, Sterling, as soon as that ball went dead, foul on Hungarian captain there, Soloy, but Sterling straight in the referee's face, Harry Kane in the referee's face, pointing towards Saka as if to say that was a free kick. Didn't get it, and they kind of switched off a little bit. You know what, Hungary are an awkward side to play against, but they've got a lot of quality as well. I do like the midfield. Schaefer's in there, Styles has been outstanding as well. I just feel they've got the quality, they've got the awkwardness as well. It's a good combination if you've got to play against a side like this.
Well, they are looking to go top of the group. As John was saying, a very settled side under the 57-year-old Italian coach, Marco Rossi. Only had 2 defeats in their last 8. Serbia at home and Italy away. Leading here by a goal to nil. Ball played forward. Shalhoy pops up on the left-hand side. Walker goes towards him. Shalhoy's cross takes a deflection, loops in the air, headed away by Stones. It'll go out for a Hungary throw. level with the penalty area as they play from right to left, attacking that two-tiered stand, the stand colours end here at Molineux. In fact, it's an England throw.
Yeah, they're a very streetwise team, aren't they, Hungary? When you watch them, they try and buy as many fouls as they can, try and disrupt the game as much as possible. And it's a very clever way of playing. It's frustrating to watch as an opposing fan. But if you're playing in it, if you're watching it as a fan, as your team, I think it's brilliant.
And they're getting results. They've only failed to score now in one of their last 9. Might not necessarily score a lot of goals, but they will find the back of the net, and they then will be hard to break down. Very, very well drilled. England, however, just haven't really carved out enough opportunities. We've been playing now for 62 minutes on what has been an extremely frustrating night. Ramsdale clears long after taking the ball out of his penalty area. Attila Soloy heads it forward. Phillips. England have missed that drive of Declan Rice in the midfield. And there are a number of established England players who will be starting against Iran on the 21st of November who are not here tonight, but nevertheless Gareth Southgate will have still expected a performance from the players he did select. Kyle Walker on this near side, back towards Mason Mount.
I think there's one guy who stands out for me. He's warming up in front of us. It's Phil Foden. Someone who can go and beat players in midfield, who can step by someone and create a moment of magic. We've not had any of that yet. We've got players in the forward areas high up the pitch, but you've got to be able to get them on the ball first, and he's a player that can really create those spaces for those players.
Yeah, he doesn't mind being closely marked, taking the ball and bounce it off and go again. And I think you're right, Steve, we haven't seen many players tonight trying to do that, if any at all, in the white shirt.
The concern they've had with Phil Foden, he only returned to training last Friday after recovering from COVID, and they only checked the medical team this morning, because they're worried about the level of conditioning that he's had over the last 3 weeks. But judging by the fact that he's having a word with one of the coaches down below, he is going to be coming on. And if it is a cameo, it's a role that he's going to have to try and conjure something up with, because England have certainly missed his creativity. And we have 26 minutes remaining. Guehi back towards Stones. England have looked quite lethargic at times. Here is Walker forward towards Sterling, little touch inside. Adam Nodge back then towards his goalkeeper, and then it's hit downfield. Soloy up against Stones, tussling for the ball. Here is Phillips in the centre circle. Schaefer, Walker flies into the challenge. It breaks out towards Saka on that left-hand side. Saka running in field towards Harry Kane. Helps it on its way towards Reece James. James has got Sterling ahead of him. He's onside, enters the penalty area, tries to work over the cross. Blocked by Orban. Sterling still tries to win it back, but Orban and Zoltnodge are there to bring it away for Hungary.
I think he makes the wrong run, Raheem Sterling. I think he gets in the way of Reece James. You watch Reece James for Chelsea, leave him in a 1v1. He wants to get down the line himself, he wants to cross it in. He's arguably a better crosser of the ball than Raheem Sterling. I think you're talking about the performance being lethargic. I think it lacks ideas at times, Dano.
Mount makes the run ahead of Bellingham on the left-hand side, down by the corner flag. Back then towards Guehi. Kane waits patiently in the penalty area. Saka, left-hand side. First cross was easily blocked, and the ball is going to be brought clear by Nodge, only as far as Guehi. Wins it back infield. Kyle Walker, central position. Forward ball to Kane with his back to goal. Looks for Reece James round the back. Adam Soloy once again, the centre forward, back there operating more as a left-back to stop the attack, and effectively too. 1-0 to Hungary.
Brilliant, big captain, brilliant. Getting there, helping his team out, just affecting the game by holding it up, affecting the game by defending for his team as well.
This is Guehi now, just outside the centre circle. Passes the ball towards Stones. Walker. Here is Sterling. Come on, England, is the cry. Phil Foden is coming on as well, just putting on his 21 shirt as it goes out of play for a throw that Reece James takes before Foden can actually come on. Final word in the left ear of Gareth Southgate. Scooped forward by Walker. Bellingham makes the run into the penalty area. Cleared away by Attila Soloy to Adam Soloy. Hungary still working very, very hard. Soloy, though, has lost it. Dispossessed there by Reece James. England give the ball away. Shalloy battling forward. They're scrapping for everything at Hungary. And then that was a free kick. And this will be the introduction for Phil Foden. And Reece James is... Oh, it's the yellow card, actually, to Marco Rossi. He was walking in the direction of Reece James, but it actually is the Hungarian coach, the Italian, who's been booked by the French referee. And Bellingham is the one to make way for Phil Foden.
Yeah, you know what, I think Bellingham's done okay tonight. It hasn't really affected the game in the final third that I wanted him to, but his energy's been good, his honesty's been good. But now we've got the player that I think Stevie wanted on the pitch, that little bit of guile, Steve, you were talking about. He was just warming up, you mentioned him.
Yeah, I just think you've got to get him in key areas on the pitch, and I think he's capable of doing that himself. He's such an intelligent footballer. I think this will please the England fans who are watching this game now. The captain, Soloy, the centre-forward who's been outstanding throughout this game, is going to be substituted, so that's a plus for England anyway.
Do you remember the golfer Andrew Johnston, who's
Yes.
nicknamed Beef? Well, here's his doppelganger, because this lad, he's a big unit. He's a bearded big unit, and Adam Soloy is coming off. And whilst the substitution takes place, let's get an update with John Southall watching Wales.
Netherlands 2, Wales 1. About 20 minutes for Wales to try and find an equaliser here. Brennan Johnson, who's been impressive this evening, slalomed his way through the Dutch defence, but his shot on his left foot held by Cillessen. Netherlands 2, Wales 1.
Should say as well, though, that Martin Adam, 27 years of age, he was the top scorer in the Hungarian league last year with 31 goals last season. So he might be big, but he also makes his presence felt in more ways than one. So he comes on for Adam Soloy, who's been excellent for Hungary. They're leading by 1-0. Phil Foden has never lost for England. That record might now be put to the test in an England shirt. We're midway through the second half. Hungary lead by 1-0. John Murray.
Thank you, Ian. So England have created next to nothing in terms of clear chances.
You checked your sheet there, John, just to clarify it, didn't you? And there's nothing on it.
Nothing. The only thing I've put down is right at the start of the half, this tactical switch that England made to play with 3 central defenders. But they're just lacking that, again, lacking the quality in the final third. And in fact, it's Hungary who come forward. And here's Roland Shalai with a chance to make it 2-0. And he stabbed it in. And Hungary now lead by 2-0 here at Molineux. And they are looking at their first win over England on English soil since 1953. And England are staring at the bottom of the Nations League table. England 0, Hungary 2.
You cannot be giving the ball away on the edge of your own box. Got muscled out of it, Phillips did, and they were on it like a shot. It was an incredible break. The Hungarian red shirts were racing forward. It was an amazing finish as well. Shalloy outside of the right boot, 8 yards out, bearing down on Ramsdale's goal. He didn't make any mistake at all. England are so flat.
Well, we talked about the substitution, and it's Adam who comes on, and it's the ball in from him. He's the one who outmuscles Calvin Phillips. He's the one who lays it on a plate for Shalloy, and it's a magnificent finish. It really is. It's a great pass into him, but it's a lovely finish with the outside of his foot. And Ramsdale, because it's so close to his feet, he can't adjust, he can't get down quick enough. And we needed a response from England in the second half. We haven't seen it, and that mountain becomes even bigger to climb now.
So a goal in each half from Roland Shalloy, and Hungary have a real chance. In fact, you'd back them strongly now to win against England in England since the famous match back in 1953, the match of the century it was called, when Hungary beat England 6-3 at Wembley. England just haven't created enough, and Hungary have taken the chances that have come their way. And that's now a hat-trick for Roland Shalloy of Freiburg against England this season. Scored at Wembley, 2 goals here at Molineux. What a performance, what an individual performance from him to remember for the rest of his footballing days. And England, not yet definitely out of things in this group because of the fact Germany are winning 3-0 against Italy. But really, it's more a matter of staving off relegation if they can in the autumn. Here's James, plays the ball across, Foden can't get there, and Hungary are able to clear it away. And Walker, now to James on the right-hand side. James swings it across, and a stretch, no! Saka couldn't get there at the back post. It bounced up, chest high, whipped across him, and it's out for a throw on the far side.
Just cannot get on the end of those crosses, can we? James has done a couple now. I think the flag was raised anyway, but it's just not enough at the moment from England. They've got to do more. They've got to look a little bit more composed in possession. They're being forced to rush their game tonight, England. Hungary have been absolutely outstanding, I've got to say.
Hungary won 1-0 against England in Budapest 10 days ago. Now they're winning 2-0 here at Molineux. And this is one of the greatest setbacks in terms of results that Gareth Southgate has faced in his time as the England manager. Hungary won't be going to the World Cup, England are, but all of this, I think even given the time that it's being played, I think it's the way that England have played, the lack of ideas, the lack of creativity that is ringing alarm bells with only 2 matches to play before Qatar in November. So England 2-0 down, time very quickly running out. We're into the last 20 minutes now, and England playing it forward from the back with Gay to the halfway line. Still, England have scored just the 1 penalty in these 4 matches this month. That really gives a stark illustration of where the problem is. And now the ball being carried forward again for Hungary in the red shirts. And here is the man, 2-goal Roland Shalloy, playing it over the top down the left-hand side for the run of Zolt Nodge. But John Stones comes across and it's out for a goal kick. Walker, as England take it quickly, real urgency now. England have to up the tempo, up the pace, and quite simply create something. Here's Sterling. So Sterling is onto the field, Foden onto the field, Mount onto the field, and here is Raheem Sterling winning his 77th cap tonight. Back to Phillips, who was caught out for the second goal. His pass to Saka on the left, Saka's cross, no, that's whipped high over everyone, and actually James has been able to get there in the Hungarian left-back position, and he gives it to Sterling. White shirts around the edge of the Hungarian box. Sterling still in possession with his black boots. Then back to Walker. Now to the right-hand side to James. Sterling again. Back to James. James chips it across to the back post. The defender slips, but there was no one there in a white shirt. Still England take up possession though. Gay. Now Mount near the edge of the area. Saka on the left-hand side, his cross, James is arriving, just a touch from the defender. Still James in the box, Sterling now, Sterling pulls it back, tries to work it across, too many red shirts, shoots again, that's blocked. Sterling lifts it to the back post, Saka with a header, and it's hooked away to safety by Adam Long. In fact, was the flag up? Yeah, the flag was up, and it is a free kick to Hungary, who, well, are defending for all they're worth now, and Germany now winning 4-0 against Italy. So Germany 4, Italy 0. Werner with the 4th goal. Muller scored the 3rd, and Werner scored again. 2 goals in just over a minute for Germany, for Timo Werner, and a handsome win for Germany and Mönchengladbach over the European champions. But Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock with us here at Molineux on 5 Live.
Well, England's best players come down the right-hand side from Reece James when he's played little 1-2s in behind. Simple football, just playing that give and go. It's the hardest ball to defend against in football. And then you've got to have runners, you've got to have that quality. When Reece James picks the ball up, you've got to have a runner front post, a runner in the middle and a runner at the back, and then players filling the edge. He dinked a lovely ball up, and it just, no one at the back post taking that gamble to get in.
So England with the ball at the back in front of their own penalty area. 15 minutes to play. England, if they're going to think about winning this group, they've got to come up with 3 goals. Long ball downfield, Sterling, lovely touch, but there's no one up supporting. He's got it in the box on the right-hand side. Sterling then back to Foden on the edge of the area. Sterling, Foden shoots low, but drags it wide by a couple of feet. And there were, needless to say, there were red shirts in there in between him and the goal, but he pulled it wide.
Yeah, it was the pace of Sterling. I don't think any of the white shirts could keep up with him. He was up there on his own, red shirts all around him, and he just picked out Foden. He was on the edge of the box in the D, and he just tried to spin, swivel, strike it with his left foot and just pulled it slightly.
England still have changes they could make. Jack Grealish still on the substitutes bench. Kane playing it square, and then John Stones joining the attack, but the ball bounces away from him, and Hungary clear it with goalkeeper Dibus to the halfway line.
I think the concern, John, is that no one's warming up. So I think it tells you Garrett's not looking to really make any changes, or is that on the players to get up and put something in his mind to say, I want to get on this pitch, I want to play.
Yeah. Here is Mount on the left-hand side. England needs something quickly. Mount playing it in. Kane with a header, hits the crossbar, comes back to Kane, and it bounces away off him. He's gone to ground very easily there, Harry Kane. I think he ran into the defender, Zsolt Nagy. The crowd shouted for a penalty. Excellent initial header, twisting header, glancing header. Dion, you would have been proud of that, but onto the face of the crossbar.
Yeah, it's one of those where the cross is that good that all you have to do is kind of turn your head in towards the ball and try and get it on target. Looking at a replay here of Harry Kane going to ground, but I don't think there was any contact. Or was there a little bit of contact?
There was slight contact as he put his foot on the floor. He got his foot kicked. I don't think it's a penalty, but I can see why he went down holding his ankle, because it looked a pretty awkward challenge on him.
Hungary making another change, and it's 2-goal Roland Sholoi coming off. Pats on the back all round for him. What a day for him, scoring both goals for Hungary in England. And still they're continuing. The captain's down there. He's got his hair down now. Adam Soloy, having been substituted earlier. He looks as though he could be in some heavy metal outfit, doesn't he, down there? And he's still the congratulations are going on. This will be celebrated wildly and loudly, certainly by those 600 or 700 Hungarian fans who you can hear right now in the top tier of the Stan Colours stand. 2-0 Hungary lead. England 0, Hungary 2. And England with Kane, who's just seen a header strike the top of the crossbar. James now on the right hand side receives it from him. Walker's joined the attack. Walker comes through one challenge, absolutely packed penalty area. Sterling plays it in, takes a glance. The question is whether it's going to fall for an Englishman in amongst the congestion. Saka plays it across, takes a deflection, double deflection, and Hungary are able to clear it away. I mean, that's it, isn't it? It's so congested in there that any ball into the box, it's just got to take the fortunate deflection into the path of an England boot.
Yeah, but you've got to go round it, John. You've got to make sure that the ball's coming in from wide areas. Anything that's played into feet, you can be aggressive as a defender. You can step into it. You know you've got players covering around you. The moment you start getting in behind and start putting crosses into the box and you're running towards your own goal, that's what causes chaos in the box, and that's what England have got to do better as Hungary break again.
Yes, they do. I mentioned Roland Sholoi went off. Loic Nego came on, who's caught the eye against England already this season, the former Charlton man, and it is Hungary coming forward, and the ball in. Nego with a header, it hits a defender. It comes out. Zsolt Nagy scored! Brilliant left foot strike from the edge of the box. It flew past Ramsdale to his right, and this is something special for Hungary, leading England by 3-0. But for England and Gareth Southgate, boos ring around Molineux. It is England 0, Hungary 3. What a scoreline.
Well, the substitutions have made an impact, and it was Nego at the back post who gets a header in. It hits John Stones, and then as it comes out, Adam again, he sets his teammate and he just blasts it into the bottom left-hand corner. Ramsdale hasn't had a chance with any of the goals. It's a sweet strike. Ramsdale unsighted, and this is a nightmare for England.
He arrived on it, Zsolt Nagy, just at the right time. Caught it brilliantly, really, and it flashed past Ramsdale to his right. And that is near post, but it was just hit too well.
Yeah, John, you mentioned about this team knowing each other. You know, Adams laid that ball to his teammate on his left foot, so he doesn't have to change stride. He's 22 yards out. He pings it with his left foot sweetly past Ramsdale's near post. They know each other. They know how each other's play. Fans are not happy. Fans are leaving the stadium.
They are. Gareth Southgate hoped that the full house at Molineux would give England that extra energy, but instead it's you don't know what you're doing. There are 10 minutes left, less than 10 minutes to play. Spectators are leaving the ground, and England are 3-0 down to the world-ranked 40th team. Hungary, fine, famous win for them as Reece James
John
is
Stones is off here.
Oh, Stones, it's a second yellow card for Stones, and there's the red, and John Stones has now been sent off. And England are now down to 10 men, and the wheels are coming off here. A second yellow card for the Manchester City central defender, and he has to leave the field, and England are now down to 10 men, and it's gone from bad to worse.
I don't think there's anything in it, John. I think it's an absolute disgrace of a decision. John Stones is looking at Reece James. The man runs from behind him, and he just turns his body, and he runs into John Stones' shoulder. I don't understand how the referee has given a sending off here. It can't be reviewed though, can it? Because it's a yellow card? It can actually, yeah.
Stevie,
I mean, that should be rescinded. That's an embarrassing.
Disgraceful. That is absolute. He actually runs into the back of John Stones' arm. He runs into, and he sort of heads the back of his arm and goes down. That's a disgusting decision for me.
Well, he's gone. He's left the field. And it's a yellow card, so
yeah,
it's a second yellow card, so it's VAR's not in the picture for that. And he's had to go. Harry Maguire's been hurriedly prepared. John Stones just the 19th player to be shown a red card playing for England. But you've heard the reaction of Stephen Warnock and Dion Dublin. However, England were already 3-0 down, already heading to what is now an ignominious defeat, really. 1-0 was one thing, 2-0 wasn't good, but 3-0, really, this is as bad as it's got under Gareth Southgate.
It is, but you wouldn't say that Hungary haven't deserved it. They've been by far the better team. They've had an identity about how they played. We were talking at half-time, the four of us, and we were saying, what is England's identity? What is the style of play? What do we expect to see from England when we watch them? I don't know at the moment, and that's a concern when you're thinking that we're going into a World Cup year. And I think this is the best squad of England players that I've seen in my time as being an England player, an England fan. I think this is exceptional, but we're not getting the best out of them.
John Stones is gone. Maguire still waits to come on. So England playing with 10 men, but 3-0 down, time running out, only 6 or 7 minutes left. England on the way to a run of 4 matches without a victory. That would be the first time that's happened under Gareth Southgate. James now plays it into the box. Foden with a shot across the face of goal, but beyond the far post, and it is a goal kick. Italy have got a goal back. Yunyanto has scored his first goal for Italy. Germany 5, Italy 1, and it's Saka who has to leave the field. He's been substituted so that Harry Maguire can come on to play at the back and make sure it doesn't get any worse for England.
I'm not sure about that decision either, to be honest with you. You're bringing a left footer off and you're moving Reece James back out onto the left-hand side. Imbalance again, and you heard the disappointment from the crowd there. The crowds of you don't know what you're doing again. I don't know why that decision's been made. I don't know why you needed to bring Harry Maguire onto the pitch. You had a back four in place. Strange decision.
Here's Nago through the middle, and Nago's challenged by Walker, and I think that's going to be a yellow as well because the arm was used by Kyle Walker. So another yellow card for England and a free kick for Hungary. We're into the last 5 minutes now. So Hungary will be going handsomely to the top of this group. You know, no one gave them a chance in the Euros last summer when they were in that group with Portugal and France and Germany. And even though they finished bottom of that group, they gave it a really good go and got some notable results. And in this group, Hungary will be top with 2 matches to play with 7 points, then Germany with 6, Italy with 5, and England with 2. And England will have to get something out of the 2 matches. The only 2 matches England have got before the World Cup, remember, against Italy and Germany. And listen, you know, as we said right at the start of the programme, I think by the time we get to September into the new season, you know, it's entirely possible that the mood will be totally different. But I think there is a carryover from this because of the confidence factor and because of the criticism, rightly, that England have suddenly turned into a team that can't create.
Yeah, I don't know, it's their standard. They seem to have dropped their standards and the intensity, and, you know, again, we mentioned it in the first half, Stevie mentioned it before the game, the warm-up was a bit lapsed in concentration and quality, and it seems they've taken it into the game. What I can't do though, John, I can't take anything away from Hungary, because they haven't played the beautiful game, they haven't been silky, but what they do know is they know what they're good at, and they do that very well. They're physical, they pass the ball well, they get the ball into the big number 9 or the big centre forward, and they just work in and around them. Physical as well, work really hard.
England 0, Hungary 3. And this has been cheered to the rafters by those Hungarian fans up there. The ball at the back with D. Bruce, played back to into the penalty area, where it's knocked out to the right-hand side by Orban's left foot, and then up to the halfway line, and they're coming again, and Gosdog is carrying the ball forward, and he plays it to Zsolt Nagy, who gets the ball down. The man who scored the third goal, scored against Germany on Saturday, scores against England on Tuesday. That's not bad, his first international goals. And Schaefer is just going to knock it back, and England drop right back behind the ball. This game's gone, there's no question, there's no turning this around now for England. And it is a very, very disappointing way to end this international season. An international season when they've qualified in good style for the World Cup, knocked Hungary out along the way, remember, but this Nations League campaign has been bitterly disappointing, as there's a foul on Calvin Phillips and a free kick to England in front of their own penalty area. And 28,839 is the official announcement here at Molineux. And England take the free kick and bring the ball away downfield, and they'll have their work cut out now to avoid relegation to the second tier of the Nations League, and the knock-on effect of that will affect England's group when the draw is made in the autumn for qualification for Euro 2024. So it's entirely possible, if it stays like this, that England would find themselves in a rather more difficult group than they have in qualifying in recent years for the World Cup and European Championship. England 0, Hungary 3, but that's the least of their worries at the moment with this performance, as England have to defend again, and they're at 6s and 7s, and the ball is being played through the middle, and Gosdog is in, and Gosdog lifts it over Ramsdale. It's a fourth goal for Hungary, and all of the substitutes and all of the staff come running onto the field. Wild Hungarian celebrations. But this is an absolute shell shock for England and for Gareth Southgate. Super finish, but awful for England. 4-0 Hungary lead here at Molineux.
What a finish. Clinical. It's a clinical pass through the middle, and Kyle Walker gets caught on the wrong side, and Gosdog does so well, because he just invites the challenge from Kyle Walker, gets himself between Kyle Walker and the ball, shields it, and then Ramsdale's rushing onto it, and he just dinks it over him. It's an outstanding finish. It's brilliant from Hungary. Harry Maguire gets caught flat-footed, but it's nothing short of what they deserve, and the Hungarian substitutes are on the pitch. They're celebrating. This is a huge victory for them.
And you know what? That is, Stevie, that is the classic up, back and through. You know, that's what they did. The ball went up, it came back to a midfield player, there was a third midfield player running, and through, up, back and through, and they did it absolutely perfectly. A fantastic finish. Ramsdale had no chance, just sliced England open with 3 passes.
I've got a feeling there might have been at least one yellow card for some of the celebrations there. I mean, all of the substitutes and the staff came running across the field, but England coming forward. But this is Vane now. Kane playing it to Sterling, and Sterling's cross is blocked, and the ball bounces away and behind for a corner. 1 minute of added time, and I think there's a cheer for that, because that will limit the possibility that England could concede another one.
There won't be much of a cheer at the end of the game or for that, because the stadium is virtually empty. So many fans have left, and you couldn't blame them for doing it.
So defeat by a 4-goal margin at home. I mean, this is a one to reach into the record books, which Ian Dennis has done. Record margin of defeat. So this is the first time England will have lost by 4 goals since 1964. Here is Ball on the right-hand side for England with Foden, who crosses it, but that's headed away. Time is almost up. It is up. What a night. Who saw this coming? Whatever the criticism, whatever's been said about England's style of play and lack of creativity and the dip in form in this month of June 2022, a scoreline of England 0, Hungary 4 is a huge shock. Gareth Southgate comes across the two coaches. Marco Rossi receives a big pat on the back, but there will be an enormous inquest, a deep inquest into this. And in World Cup year, just a matter of months away from the World Cup, England are left bottom of this Nations League group. Hungary go to the top. A famous night for Hungary in England. Almost as famous as that day back in November 1953 when Ferenc Puskás and co won 6-3 at Wembley. But Roland Sholoi with 2 goals, Zoltnaj, Daniel Gosdog providing the others. John Stones sent off, so England ending up with 10 men. What a miserable end to the season for England and for Gareth Southgate. Stephen Warnock, Dion Dublin.
Well, this is going to be a big thing for the England players now. Gareth Southgate and the England players have stayed out on the pitch to walk round to applaud the fans for staying till the end. I think that the fans are trying to be generous to the players because this has been a very below par performance tonight. It's been very disappointing. Credit to Hungary, they've been outstanding tonight, but questions will be asked of England, and rightly so. Questions will be asked of Gareth Southgate, and on the back of this game I think you have to hold your hands up and say, well, he does have questions to answer.
You know, I'm shocked by the result. You know, I'm trying to find words. I'm so disappointed from the performance. I'm so disappointed from the body language of the players as well during the second half, mainly because Hungary's body language didn't change through the whole of the game. They were comfortable in regards. They knew what they were doing. They knew how they wanted to play. The chances they created were dispatched professionally. They were ruthless tonight, Hungary. They defended well as well. I'm just so disappointed that England have wrapped up this stage of games with such a terrible performance. They look shattered as well, I've got to say.
Yeah, they've just been so unlike themselves this month compared to the progress that's been made. But I'm afraid here tonight, a grim-faced Gareth Southgate walking down the tunnel with Steve Holland, and I can hear people in the stands behind us calling for him to go. You know, these are 4 matches. It's been a very, very disappointing month, very disappointing results, even given the draws against Germany and Italy. But the players leaving the field now with hanging their heads while big, huge celebrations going on in one corner of Molineux. They're waving a corner flag. The captain, Adam Soloy, has got one of the corner flags and is waving it above his head. But here on this side of the field, England slipping quietly away, and still the boos continuing. Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Reece James, Calvin Phillips are among the last players to leave. Mason Mount as well, leaving the field with Kieran Trippier, and Harry Kane actually already answering questions down below on the side of the field. Difficult questions for Gareth Southgate. And clearly a great deal of work needs to be done before the autumn, the new season and the World Cup, which is just a matter of over 100 days away from where we are now. So the final score here at Molineux, England 0, Hungary 4.
Thank you, John. A lot of discussion clearly to be had on the show this evening. We're going to let John Murray, Ian Dennis, Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock just gather their thoughts before we get back to Molineux and really try and pick through the bones of what has been a totally disastrous night for England and an absolutely joyous one for Hungary. England sitting right at the bottom of that Nations League group, which, as John and Ian were both explaining, is going to cause them problems as well, were it to stay that way by the end of the group for their seeding for the qualification draw for Euro 2024. Bigger picture, of course, World Cup year as well. So back to Molineux shortly. We hope to get some reaction from the England camp as well. All of it, of course, will be in the Football Daily podcast for you on the BBC Sounds app later on tonight and first thing tomorrow morning. So if you've not subscribed to that yet, make sure you do that. BBC Sounds app and subscribe to the Football Daily. Netherlands-Wales, loads of goals in Rotterdam tonight in the Nations League. John Southall.
Unbelievable finish to the game, Ali, because it's finished Netherlands 3, Wales 2, and it was 2-1 with about 4 minutes to go. Gareth Bale thought he'd earned a point for Wales from the penalty spot, dispatched it into the bottom right-hand corner to make it 2-2. That was in the 92nd minute. Then right from the kickoff, Memphis Depay swept in the 94th minute of the game, his 42nd goal for the Dutch, and for the second time, the Netherlands have beaten Wales in the final minute of the game. Netherlands 3, Wales 2.
Thank you, John. So, an astonishing night at Molineux, a truly disastrous night for England. We can hear the Hungarian fans quite rightly celebrating their victory in the background, beating England by 4-0. It couldn't have come at a worse possible time for England, less than 6 months away from the World Cup. We've heard the boos inside the stadium tonight, the chants of "you don't know what you're doing," aimed at the manager Gareth Southgate, as you'd expect. An equally strong reaction on social media as well, with all sorts of names being bandied around as potential Gareth Southgate replacements. Now, we know that is an overreaction, but you can tell that the fans are frustrated, they are angry. It has been a really terrible couple of weeks for England. Let's get into it with our football correspondent John Murray, our senior football reporter Ian Dennis, and the former England internationals Dion Dublin and Stephen Warnock. John, rather than sort of go through the story of the game and the details of the game, just in terms of having watched England under Gareth Southgate the last 6 years, this would have to be surely the worst performance, the worst result, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, over the course of these Nations League matches, over the course of the last 14 days, there have been some odd results, but I don't think there's been a result as odd as this. 4-0 at home to this Hungary side that is ranked 40th in the world. And listen, let's not do them down. They've produced some very good results in international football against some very good teams over the course of the last year. But I think what it does is, I think the backdrop to this is this criticism, this growing criticism of England's lack of creativity. The fact that they've not been able to score goals in these matches, just the one penalty from Harry Kane in Munich over the course of these 4 matches. But it's more than that, it's the lack of creativity. So Gareth Southgate's talked about the over-reliance on Kane and Sterling for goals. But the goals aren't coming from other areas, and neither is the creativity. And I think that's the greatest concern from these 4 matches. But also, I think, what effect this has when we get into the new season and are just a matter of months away from the World Cup, with only 2 matches for England to play in September before then.
Dion, did you feel England have lost their way?
I don't know. They were forced to lose their way tonight because Hungary were that good. You know what? Not outstanding Hungary, just very regimented in what they want to do and how they want to do it. They were just professional, and England just looked really. They had no idea how to break it down, and when they were out of possession, they didn't know whether should I go tuck in, should I not tuck in, what do I do? And it just looked so disjointed tonight from the England performance point of view. And I'm not surprised there's going to be questions about Gareth. I'm not surprised. I still think he's the man that can take England forward, and I'll stand by him, and I'll say that on record. However, performances like this, if performances like this continue, there will be even more questions out about Gareth.
Yeah, I don't think you can say, if you're going to use the phrase, have England lost their way under Gareth Southgate? I think you have to see them in a different period.
Correct.
Not this time of the year.
At the end
matches.
Of the season, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an awful lot resting on those games in Milan against Italy and at Wembley against Germany in September, where there will be a huge pressure going into those games.
Those questions are always going to be there after a performance like this in particular. They're always going to be those questions.
They are, but the big problem you're going to have is what if this is the same in September? What if you get 2 performances in September where the team looks lost again, because they have looked lost tonight, and then you go, we're going to have to change it, and you don't give a manager the time to implement his style, is the way he wants to play on it. Now, when we mentioned it in commentary, or I did anyway, when I said I look at the two teams and I see one with a clear game plan from the manager and a style of football that they thought could win this game. I didn't see anything from England. I haven't seen anything from them from the last 4 games in the competition. And I've always been one of these guys. I don't want a manager to be sacked. I don't like that. But I'm not sure he's the man. I think there's other candidates that would be more suited to it. And I think he will be under massive pressure tonight.
I'll have to leave you to go downstairs to speak to him. So I'll leave you with that debate.
But England would not change their manager. Say, for instance, they don't win against Italy away in September or Germany at home. They are not going to change their manager 2 months out from a World Cup.
No, and that's what I'm saying. But would they now? Would they get to the point now where they're talking like us around the table and they say, if we don't win those 2 games and we don't see an improvement, this is the best group of English players we've had in a long, long time, and we're going to give up an opportunity to win a World Cup. I think this team can win a World Cup, managed in the right way. They are that capable. They've got the players there. They've got the players who play for Manchester City, for Liverpool, for Chelsea, top end of the league. You've got great players in there. They should be achieving more.
Yeah, Stephen, are you basing that on what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, or have you felt that for a while with England?
I felt that for a while. I think in the Euros, I thought we were poor at times in the Euros. I thought the draw was favourable at times, and the route that got us to the semi-final of the World Cup last time as well. But in a game against Italy, you saw the quality of the manager in the tactical changes throughout the game to make sure that it changed during the game, and it was front foot and it was positive in the way that they played. But I'm not just pinning it on that one game. I've said this for a while about Gareth, and I've heard other ex-players and pundits talk about this. Would he get a job in the top 6 in the Premier League? This is the England national team. You've got to get the best manager in charge to manage them who's available to you.
But what about the body of work that he's done to this point, though, Steve? What does that count for in terms of World Cup semi-final, Euros final?
And this is the one thing I've said, and I said it to Dion before. I think he's a fantastic front for England. I think he's an incredible spokesman. I think he speaks extremely well. I think he's brought the team and the fans together, closer. The press, the media, everything around what he's done. He's been great for that. But you've got to take the next step. For me, I'm not so sure he's that man to take you to that next step. But it's brilliant what he's done so far.
Is this a long enough period? Is the 4 games, Steve, a long enough period for us to say, right, that wasn't good enough, in your opinion? Because I don't think 4 games. They've been a poor 4 games. Let's get it right.
Yeah, but
they've been poor.
I think there's been other games.
Mitigating factors, mind. I mean, let's not get away. Gareth Southgate is facing the biggest challenge as an England manager. That's a fact. England have just suffered the biggest defeat under his reign. The last time they conceded 4 was Germany in 2010. The last time they suffered a defeat by a margin of 4 was 1964, a 5-1 defeat against Brazil. So they're the facts in terms of the manner of the scoreline. But then you've got to weigh in the mitigating factors that they've played 4 games in, 10 days?
Yeah, 100%.
They're at the end of a long season. You've got to look at the wider picture.
Yeah, I know, and I think Steve agrees as well. I just don't think you can judge Gareth Southgate and his time as an England manager just on this period.
And I'm not. That's the thing. I understand what you're saying is the 4 games, but I think there's been other things that you've seen along the way where I look at this team and go, they should be doing better. I think this England squad should dominate teams. I don't think the other team should get a kick of the ball. I think they're that good and they're that capable. Whereas I think England always play on the back foot. I think they're always a negative team. Sorry, Ali.
No, I was just going to say, Stephen, in terms of, you're talking there, I mean, you mentioned the point about you don't think Gareth Southgate will get a job with a top 6 club in the Premier League. I mean, do you have the calibre of manager in mind? Do you have names in mind of who you're thinking who could do a better job than Gareth Southgate? No. Okay.
No, because I think it's very difficult, because the best managers in world football want the day-to-day. They want that everyday feel. So you'd have to look at another option, and whether that is someone doing a dual role for the World Cup and looking at it in that way, but whether that's a possibility. But it's very difficult because there's not many people out there. However, if he was to step aside or was to be relieved of his duties, I think there'd be a lot of managers stepping forward for that job, because I would love to work with this quality of players.
Let me read you some of the reaction that we've been receiving on the text and on the tweets. Luke saying it's all well and good saying the England players are tired, but so are Germany. They've just beaten Italy 5-2. Michael, Southgate's job is untenable in all honesty, but for the media who for some reason keep propping him up, there is as much talent in depth as we've had in decades. It's being totally wasted and mismanaged. And then there's some names being, and this is always going to be the case, so I've asked you there, Stephen, on the spot for names, and that's not the easiest thing to do. Graham Potter's is a name that is all over Twitter this evening. Brendan Rodgers' name has popped up. Eddie Howe's name has popped up. Mauricio Pochettino's name has popped up. Obviously, we think he won't be PSG manager for very much longer. The point being, Ian, I think as you said right away as soon as we started this discussion, we're so close now, aren't we, to the World Cup, in terms of if England were even thinking about making a change. There's two games to be played, aren't there, in the autumn, and then it's time to name the squad.
They've got Italy away in September, Germany at home in the Two Nations League game. There's no more matches in October. And then, so that's it. The next time England will be in action would be Iran, the start of the World Cup, the 21st of November. So coming into this game, there was, Gareth Southgate was asked, and he said he will know when the time is to walk away. He still believes that he can get an improvement out of these players. Now, you look at the starting lineup and you think probably, 4, maybe 5 would be starting this game against Iran come the World Cup. Gareth Southgate might actually think, he's heard the chants from a Molineux crowd of you don't know what you're doing. Gareth Southgate might think, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
I've got England to a World Cup semi-final. I've got England to the finals of the Euros, and the first time they hit a bump in the road, and this really is the first time they've hit a bump in the road, there's a reaction like that. He was saying yesterday, he feels as if he's been judged as if it's the World Cup and it's the Nations League. And he's got to be managing minutes and trying with the team selection to have trust in the players.
Yeah, I get that, Deno, but look at the players on show. Look at the players out there tonight.
But you called it at the start of the game.
Yeah, but that's up to the manager to inspire them. That's up to the manager to get them up for this as well, as much as the players have got to get themselves up for it. There's got to be something. As the messages are coming in, what about Germany? Look at their season, what they've done. Do you think their players are thinking that tonight? They're thinking, oh, knackered, can't be bothered with this game. Go out there and get a result. I think it's.
I think it's harsh just to point every single finger at the manager. I think the players, we've said they're tired. Of course they are. They played loads of games. However, you're putting on the shirt, your England shirt. You've got to give us a better performance as an individual human being who's representing your country. You've got to give us better individual performances. I don't think it's fair just to point the finger at Gareth Southgate. Some of the players have got to go, you know what? Maybe I was below par tonight. Maybe I was a little bit off my game.
So 2 games to go. What would you chaps do, Dion, Steve and Ian, to address this lack of creativity in particular that we've been talking about in these games? So they've just been beaten 4-0 by Hungary. They've scored 1 goal in 4 games. It's come from the penalty spot. I mean, I know you and I, Stephen, on the Monday Night Club this week, were talking about the idea of building an England team around Phil Foden, for example, as a sort of different approach.
Yeah, well, I just think if you want creativity for Harry Kane up front, it's got to come from somewhere, and predominantly it comes from your centre midfield or in and around those positions. And Phil Foden's a genius, an absolute genius. I mean, we're talking about a player who I believe could go on and be probably one of the most decorated footballers of the English game, because he's that good and he started so young at Manchester City. And you look at that team at Manchester City and what they produce week in, week out with the quality that they have. He's one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. Yet we struggle to get him into an England team because he doesn't quite fit the mould and he doesn't quite fit into the system. Build the system around him. Make sure it works. He's the most creative player week in, week out in the Premier League. And can he adapt to the international stage? Absolutely he can. He could dominate the international stage. So it's trying to find systems. And I listened to Gareth talking about Jack Grealish and saying how he wants him to be more defence-minded and he needs to think about that side of the game. I'm not so sure. Give him the freedom. Let him go and express himself. If I'm playing behind Jack Grealish, I'm saying to him, go and beat your fullback every single time. Go and take him on. If you lose the ball, don't worry. I'll look after you, and so will your centre midfielder as well.
You know what, as well, changes in the starting 11, changes at half-time, changes that come in the second half. It does, I'm not going to say it confuses things, but it's all about relationships, and you know this, Stevie. Centre halves, right side centre half, right back, left side centre half, left back, two in midfield. Hungary, have they played the same side all the way through this?
They've had a much settled side, yes.
So that's another point as well. They're settled, they know each other, they know that the centre forward knows that if there's a run down the right hand side, it's going to be a right footer. If he run down the left hand side, it's going to be a left footer. He hasn't got to think about who he's playing in. Who is it? Who's that? Is that Reece James? Is that Foden? He knows who that's going to be. I understand you should be able to adjust. I know that. However,
so has he made a mistake then in this couple of weeks in terms of, because he said yesterday very clearly to John that the importance of this game against Hungary, England needing the win, he's still that wasn't going to dictate his team selection. He had his plans, he's been looking at different things. Has that been a mistake then?
Well, he's made mistakes because they haven't played well. He's made mistakes because he's picked wrong players for the wrong games. He's picked wrong formations. So that is the manager's fault. It's the manager's fault. But however, individual performances, like I've said it so many times, Gareth's down there in front of me now. He's got to do about 3 or 4 interviews. He's going to get roasted by most of the press. What's going on, Gareth? And I don't believe it's all his fault.
But Dion, you look at the left back position, for instance.
Yeah.
Playing a right footer. International football at left back when you've got Saka playing left midfield. Now Saka's played left back for Arsenal. Now he might not want to do it, but this is your international team. This is England. Do me a job for the next 3 games, 4 games, whatever it might be at left back, because I need balance in the team. Then when all the pressure's on him and England are 3-0 down, he decides to take a left back off and put Reece James back onto the right back position
when it wasn't working in the first half. I totally understand.
And it's totally mind-blowing to think that you're putting yourself under even more pressure.
Ian, just on the point of this competition and what this means for England, this run of results. So just putting the World Cup to one side for a minute, why is this so damaging for England as well? Just to remind our listeners of that.
Well, in terms of the Nations League, England face the realistic possibility of being relegated out of the top league. But the wider picture would be is that the Nations League actually has an impact on the seeding for the Euro 2024 draw that takes place in Frankfurt on October the 9th. So there'll be, I think you've got to feature in the top 10 to be one of the top seeds. England, when I looked this morning, were about 14th. So the fact that they're languishing at the bottom of Group A3 will mean that England will struggle then to be one of the top seeds regarding the Euros for that competition.
Yeah, Stephen as well. I mean, Ian was talking about there, we heard the chants towards Gareth Southgate, if you don't know what you're doing, and he said already this week, when he feels it's time to go, then he will have no qualms in going. I mean, he will clearly take his squad into consideration there. He's obviously going to do what's right for him, but also, you'd imagine a lot of those players have put their faith in him, so he would take how they would react to that, into consideration as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he would, but the players will be very loyal to him because he's very loyal to them. There isn't many changes within the squad. Gareth is very loyal, and it's a huge quality of his that he has within the squad. So you're not going to get the players coming in kicking and screaming. I think you might get the odd 1 or 2 who are very annoyed at the situation and expect more because of the levels that they play at week in, week out. But listen, he's going to get criticised, and rightly so, because he's England manager and he's got the nation watching to see what his next move is.
A few minutes left on 5 Live Sport this evening. We are reacting to England 0, Hungary 4 at Molineux tonight. John Murray, our football correspondent, is down pitchside waiting to talk to Gareth Southgate. John, what's the scene down there?
Yeah, well, I've just got the England captain, Harry Kane, coming over to us, who is just about to take that microphone. Yeah, that's the one, Harry. Yeah. Harry, what on earth can you say after what we've just witnessed here tonight. I mean, in terms of what's happened under Gareth Southgate's management, I mean, that is a low point, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the first low point we've had in probably 5 years, so of course a really disappointing night, coming up against a tough team. Of course we expect to win these games, but it wasn't our night tonight. But look, we can't panic, we can't get ahead of ourselves, we need to stay calm, we need to process it, learn from it. The bigger picture's what we're preparing for, which is a big World Cup. We've had 2 fantastic major tournaments in a row, and we'll look to build on that. So nights like this will only help us learn, and that's what we'll continue to do.
But what's gone wrong?
Yeah, it's football, it's easy to come out here after a 4-0 defeat and try and put blame on people or try and explain it, but sometimes you have nights like this. It's my first night like this in an England shirt, a lot of the lads their first experience, so look, it's no time to panic. It's a loss that of course we're disappointed with, but a loss that we have to stay calm with as well. We're not getting carried away. We know we've got stuff to work on, but we'll prepare for that for the September camp.
Harry, you know how this game works and what the reactions are like. I know that there are already people questioning whether Gareth Southgate is the right man to take England to the World Cup in just a few months' time. What would you say as England captain to that?
Yeah, I think it's a really disappointing question to be asked, if I'm totally honest. Let's not forget where we've come from, where we was last summer. And look, I understand the fans are frustrated and people are frustrated, but Gareth's been a key part of transforming this England team to one of the most successful teams we've had in the past 50 years. So let's not get carried away.
So it's not fair to judge him and the team on these matches this month?
I don't think so. I think, of course, we know it's been a disappointing camp, but I can't remember any camps that we've had like this before. So look, every now and then football throws up a surprise, and look, we haven't been good enough in especially the 2 Hungary games, but we're playing against tough opposition in Germany, Italy as well. So look, we've got to look at the bigger picture. I think I'd urge people to stay calm, and we have a process that has helped us get to where we have so far, and we'll continue to do that going into the Winter World Cup.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate your honesty.
No problem.
Straight talking from the England captain Harry Kane. Let's get back to our commentary team: Dion Dublin, Stephen Warnock, and Ian Dennis still sitting in the stands at Molineux. Dion, what did you make of what you heard from Harry Kane there?
Yeah, it didn't surprise me at all. You know what? As soon as the final whistle went tonight, Ali, he was the first to leave the group of disappointment, and he went straight over to the fans. He had a purpose in his walk. The purpose was, right, I'm going to take responsibility as captain. I'm going to go walking round. I'm going to get the players to follow me. He went off the pitch. He came back out. He's done his interview. He's walked with purpose. He's attacking this situation in regards to the interviews and all the questions with honesty as the England captain. And I'm really pleased that he's come out and answered them so honestly. I wouldn't expect anything else from Harry Kane. Deep down, he might have some different answers. Deep down, he might want to have a one-to-one with the manager and say, listen, what we're going to do about this. But I think the way he answered these questions tonight was spot on.
He said there, Stephen, he said exactly the same thing to Ian yesterday, because Ian chatted to him about the 3 games before the Hungary game, before this one went terribly wrong, and he said no panic to Ian. He said no panic again to John today. But I know, and we know what the reaction is outside the group, but even inside the group, after a game like that, after a performance like that, there must be concern, Stephen.
There will be, and there'll be nerves about the next camp, to make sure, wondering how it's going to go, because if they don't get results and when you step out onto that field, they'll hope that the form within the Premier League leading into that camp is better, and that they are more physically in better shape than they are at the moment and not as fatigued. However, what did you expect Harry Kane to come out and say in that interview? That's the big thing. He has to back him, has to talk positively, has to put on a positive persona. That is his job as the England captain, to make sure that he does that. Now, Dion's right in what he says in the fact that deep down there might be other things that he's thinking, but he can't come out and say them. But I do believe he believes in this manager because of
I agree, Steve,
giving him the captaincy and what he's done in the space of time that he's been England manager.
But there is a test for these players now, because in the past the fear of failure was banished. There was a feel-good factor around the World Cup in 2018 that was carried over into the Euros. They've never had this where previous England squads and teams have had to deal with that fear factor. Now all of a sudden, these players, 4 without a win, are going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, they certainly are, and that is the biggest challenge. And I think that's something where the only thing that concerned me was the process. And you think, well, if that's the process and that's where it's ended up, that's a concern.
Chaps, we've got to let you go. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Dion Dublin, Stephen Warnock, Ian Dennis and John Murray with the interview there with the England captain, Harry Kane. So the next 2 games for England, summer holidays now, but then in the autumn, Italy away, Germany at home. Last 2 games in this Nations League group. They're adrift at the bottom of that table, and then they are into the World Cup in November. So that's how it finished tonight. England 0, Hungary 4 at Molineux. Wales went down to a late winner from the Netherlands in Rotterdam. Netherlands 3, Wales 2. And Scotland 4-1 winners away to Armenia. Up next, the TMS team here with reaction to a dramatic conclusion to the second test at Trent Bridge. But first, the news with Jill McKenzie.